Okay, Shalom Israel. Hope everybody's doing well today. We're back at it again. Shout out Cabo Cabo, Guatemala. Hope him and his congregation are doing well. Shalom to all of y'all. Shout out SOW Virginia, Rochester, and Houston. Hope y'all brothers and sisters are doing well also. We're gonna get back into these into this history, and we're gonna keep pushing forward into these antiquities, like Josephus says. We're going to send up our prayers first, and we'll get going from there. All right. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha'awa'ah. Awar. Zayawam.
Tawada. Aman. Blessed Yahweh in the name of Yahushua that gives to us light this day. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha'awa'ah. Rayak. Nayachacha.
Tawada.
Aman.
Blessed Yahweh in the name of Yahushua that gives to us sweet savor. Thank you, so be it.
Amajim Waponya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha'awa'ah. Ha'shabbat. B'Shalom. Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasha.
Ayanyamya.
Haharya. Ma'aya. Yabu'ah. Isaiah. Yabu'ah. Ma. Yahweh. Sha'aisha. Shemaiah. Wa'aratiza. La'a. Yonathan. Lamawat. Regalia. Yala'ah. Nawam. Shashamoyah. Hana. Yala'ah. Nawam. Wala'ah. Yeshon. Shashawamor. Yashuala. Yahweh. Shemoya. Yahweh. Cesaria. Ayo. Yanyamya. Yad. Hashemaz. Yala'ah. Hakaya. Bayawam. Wala'ah. Kalabana. Balayala. Yahweh. Yashemoya. Makol. Rai. Yashemor. Napasha. Yahweh. Yashemor. Hawalakia. Wabu'aya. Ma'aitha. Wa'ai.
Aman. Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Aman.
Israelite Credo. Shema Yasharallah. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Echad. Shema Yasharallah. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Echad. Shema Yasharallah. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Echad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Okay. Lord's Prayer. Abanoah. Shabbat Shemayim. Wadash. Hayah. Shemkaf. Yahweh. Malakwavka. Taba'ah. Ratazaka. Hayah. Aisha. Waratiza. Kawa. Hayah. Bashamayim. Natalanawa. Lachol. Yawam. Wasalachano. Chawatino. Hasalachano. Chawatino. Wala'ah. Fabiano. Barasawan. Abo. Hawashino. Bayan. Right. Kaya. Lakab. Amalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahatapara.
Aman. Matthew chapter 6 verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. 10 Commandments. La'ayahaya.
La'ayahaya.
Lakab.
Lakab.
Alahaya.
Alahaya.
Akayim.
Akayim.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Panya.
Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'a.
La'a.
Tha'ina.
Tha'ina.
Lakab.
Lakab.
Pasal.
Pasal.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Tha'ibada.
Tha'ibada.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
La'a.
La'a.
Thalaq wacha.
Thalaq wacha.
Sham.
Sham.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Washawa.
Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Zakor.
Zakor.
Hayawam.
Hayawam.
Hashabat.
Hashabat.
Lakwadashwa.
Lakwadashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Kabad.
Kabad.
Abaka.
Abaka.
Ya'amaka.
Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
La'a.
La'a.
Tharatazak.
Tharatazak.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
La'a.
La'a.
Thana'a.
Thana'a.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'a.
La'a.
Thagana.
Thagana.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'a.
La'a.
Tha'ina.
Tha'ina.
Shakur.
Shakor.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'a.
La'a.
Thachamat.
Thachamat.
Ko. Ashura.
Ashura.
Laraika.
Laraika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Birthday, how about Shem Yahshai?
Birthday, how about Shem Yahshai?
Hawa. Nothing to know. Hatawara.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Israel Yeshavim.
Everybody seated?
Okay. The last 2 weeks we kind of went into the Greek history, and just kind of went into the origins of where they came from, and we kind of proved through I don't want to say prove, but we kind of gave I think a convincing argument through reading the Josephus and kind of piecing together with the scriptures that when the Most High made a no people over us, now we understand why these people are no people. The Greeks had no history, no substantial history. They were relatively a new nation, and they weren't going to sit back and take the time to really take their origins back to the Edomite times. That would be a L for them. So they sat back here and stole a lot of the Egyptian history, the Chaldean belief system, to kind of orchestrate and create their own identity, along with the Phoenicians. But today we're going to go into literal facts, what happened with the Greeks, and the beginning stages of their empire, and how it affected the Israelites. There's a lot of information in the Josephus that deals with all the history of the Greeks and how they connected with the Hebrews. But it's a lot of information, and I don't want to go too heavy in the Josephus that we don't tie it in with the Bible. So what we're about to go into is a lot of reading in the Josephus, but this part is absolutely necessary, and it's a tie-in that you don't get in the Bible. The Bible gives you the information from Genesis, Adam, all the way until the end of the Persian Empire, and you get very little of the Greek history. You get the prophecy of how the Greeks are going to operate, but you don't get blow for blow about the Greeks unless you get into the Apocrypha. So we're going to tap into the Apocrypha also, but we're going to start off in Daniel chapter 8. We're going to read Daniel chapter 8, verse 1 through 8 to get started, because it still goes back into prophecy that Daniel's had about the Greek Empire. We're going to take that prophecy that was talked about in the inception, in the beginning of the Persian and Mede Empire, and take that fulfillment of prophecy around 200 plus years down the line and bring it into a more of a real modern situation. So Daniel chapter 8, verse 1. Kariah, let's get started.
Kariah, Shah Shabbatah, Banashah, Banashala.
Kariah, Shah Shabbatah, Banashah, Banashala.
I much him. What?
Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatuh.
Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatuh.
Yashmatah. All right. So, Daniel chapter 8. We're going to read verse 1 through 8 to get started.
And this is getting the biblical gist of the Greek Empire.
We're going to start tying in the beginnings of the inception and the initial time that you're reading about the Greek Empire in the scriptures, and we're going to tie it in with the Josephus and do that as much as we can in the history for these next few weeks to give us a better idea of the things we dealt with. Because a lot of times, the only time you read about the Jews and the Greeks is dealing specifically with the abomination of desolation and when Antiochus Epiphanes came in there and they ransacked Jerusalem. But there was history leading up to that point. That's extremely important to go into. So we gotta put the history together that leads up to Antiochus Epiphanes, and then get us prepared for the Roman Empire that comes soon afterwards. Okay, so let's do that. Daniel chapter 8, verse 1.
And I want to interrupt anything, but you were, I know, previous class dealing with Sambalat, dealing with a lot of Israel was making deals and making business deals and trying to blend in with nations, and then that phase kind of continues. That culture of Israel continues with the Greeks
Down the line. Initially, when the Greeks get going, the high priesthood is somewhat stable. Then it destabilizes again. So we had that time that we were sitting back here and dealing with the Persian Empire towards the tail end, where the corruption of our people was strong, of our priesthood was strong. Then we was weak. Then we get strong for a period of time. Then we get weak again. So we'll go into that down the line, but that's a few weeks down where we kind of go into the diminishment of the priesthood. We had like 3 generations of strong priests. Then everything falls apart.
just like kings.
Just like all leadership. It's very hard to keep consecutive leaders on point. Consecutive generations of leaders on point. It's very difficult to do that. So, let's do that. Daniel's 8 verse 1.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, when Daniel had this vision, the Persians had just gotten the power, right? But when it said King Belshazzar wasn't the king of the entire world at the time. He was the leader of the province in Babylon. You had different leaders in different provinces. The head of the entire empire was King Cyrus at this time. Okay? But he was still under the jurisdiction of Belshazzar. And Belshazzar was a vassal or a lower. It's like if I went to France. We know who runs France really is United States. Well, if I'm in France, the president is who?
Macron.
Emmanuel Macron. So if I was in France and I had to deal with business in France, I'm going to Macron. But his boss is the United States, whoever the president is, and whoever the head of their Secretary of State and their CIA regimes are. It's the same concept here. King Belshazzar was the head of that territory, but the overall head was King Cyrus. So during King Cyrus's reign in the Persian Mede Empire, in the beginning of that Persian Mede Empire, he had a vision, and the vision was in the Shushan Palace, in the capital city of the Persian and Mede people. Okay? Read verse 3.
Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
So this ram is talking about the Persian and Mede Empire. When you read about horns, horns in general refer to power and influence. He said this ram had 2 horns, so it had 2 different power sources or leadership regimes that was a part of this ram. You had the Persians and you had the Median Empire. Okay? Read on.
Con. And the higher came up last.
But the higher was, read the first part, but one was higher.
Con. It says, but one was higher than the other.
Okay?
And the higher came up last.
So what it's saying is that one horn or one power had greater influence and power than the other one. And he said that the second one, the last power that had influence, they came into power last.
And the verse to explain that ram, the horn representing that power, is Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 4.
Yes, it is.
You want to get that just so we're not just saying that a horn means power. You can go to the scripture to prove that a horn represents power.
Mm-hmm.
Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 4.
Con. Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 4. It says, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand.
He said, so the Bible said when he representing horns, when horns coming out of somebody's hand or horns are rising up, it says horns coming out of his hands. Read on.
And there was the hiding of his power.
So the horns represent what?
Power.
Power.
Mm-hmm.
So as the war is breaking down, this Daniel showing the Persian Mede Empire, talking about 2 horns came up. He's talking about 2 powers came up.
Yes.
And the powers of the Persian and Medes.
So he says one was higher than the other, but the higher came up last. So what it's letting you know, the initial kingdom that had the greatest amount of influence were the Medes. And when you read throughout history, leading up to the Persian Empire, the Medes were the ones who were making life difficult for the Assyrian Empire and the Babylonian Empire. So the Medes were an ancient empire that had influence for a period of time. Also, historically, King Cyrus intermarried into the king of Media. So when he sat back and married one of the daughters of the Median kings, that's how they became kind of a united country. But the Persians ended up being more powerful than the Mede Empire was. Okay? That's just throughout the history. And the same concept is explained in Daniel 7, but I don't want to make it too much about that. What we're dealing with is the emergence of one king, an empire, going to war against another one eventually. Read verse 4.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 4. I saw the ram pushing westward.
And we also understand that the Persian and Mede Empire, once they sat back and ransacked Babylon, they took over all of Babylon's territory, and that took them all the way down to Egypt, or close to Egypt, Israel, because Babylon didn't completely take over Egypt, but they went all the way towards the Levant, westward. And then, as the Persians got stronger, they ended up taking over Egypt and working as far west as Greece. Okay, and that was during the reign of Xerxes. So this empire, Persia, is working westward. Read on.
And northward and southward.
That means they had dominion, or as much as they could, full spectrum domination. They went west, south, north. They didn't go east. They went all these other directions. Read on.
So that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great.
And they had a reign for over 200 some odd years, from 538 BC to 331 BC. So that's a hell of a run. 207 years. The Persian Mede Empire. 207 years approximately. So they had a hell of a run. But let's continue.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
Now hold this verse and jump to 20 and 21.
Verse 20. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
And you see Media was first, They were the first stronghold nation. Persia came second, so the last became the strongest. Read on.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
So he's telling you that these two animals, this goat and this ram, symbolize two different kingdoms and their collision course toward each other. Okay, so they said this ram, the Persian Empire, was working westward. Okay, and now we're talking about this goat that's talking about the king of Grecia, the Greek Empire, led by Alexander the Great. Let that verse in 21 go and go to verse 5.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
The reason that this goat didn't touch the ground, because he swiftly covered so much ground. Within 6 months, they say he took the entire Levant. Within 6 months, he conquered the entire territories of present-day Turkey and Gaza and Tyre and Zidon, Israel and Egypt. He took that entire reign over around 6 months. That's why he said he didn't touch the ground. Okay, read on.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Okay, the goat had a notable horn. There was a notable power. That was the leader of this goat, of this kingdom, of these Greeks. That notable horn was who? Alexander the Great. Okay, yes, Mike.
I just have a question. When he was seeing this vision, was it still the actual goat him traveling westward, because he wasn't seeing none of the armies or anything?
A lot of times when they're saying what they saw. It's no different than you sit back here and see when John the Revelator saw the vision of that woman on top of a beast. The funny thing is, a lot of times when you sit back here and look at why that type of communication was explained, it was explained for multiple reasons. When you think about the mythology behind the woman on top of the bull, that goes back to Greek and Roman mythology. So when you're sitting back here with a woman on top of a beast, yeah, you can sit, but we break down, we understand it's Esau, and we understand the woman is on top of the beast, we understand that woman's America, the whore, the whole nine. But it gives you even more context clues whose history is that. Whose history goes back to this woman on a bull? That's Greek history. That was the history of Europa. And then the funny thing is, you see that same story being painted out in Europe. In Europe, you see that same story put out in their European countries with the woman on top of the bull. I don't have it on. It's in the other office, but there's literally in these EU buildings, they have the woman on top of the beast in metallic art. They even tie in Europe. They tie their history to their mythology. So their mythology ties into European culture, and then you read about the European culture and mythology in Revelation for a reason. That's one of those context clues the Lord gives us to let us know who He's talking about. Just like when you sit back here and see in the EU building or the United Nations building in Europe looks like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
It looks like the unfinished Tower of Babel. He's letting you know that that European nations, their entire identity is tied into Babylon. Those are additional context clues to let you know that what they're envisioning is symbolic for things and items that connect to present day world. So to answer your question, they literally saw beasts. Okay? But those beasts were symbolic to the people that we know about today. And let me see. I might have. I just don't think I have these images on this computer. I definitely have it on my other computer. Let me see. If you want to talk a little bit, I can go back there and shoot them over here to bring a little bit more life to what I'm saying. Do you have a verse you want to shoot while I
did. I was actually looking. Yes, actually, I want to go to 2nd Ezra chapter 4. Chapter 4. Start at verse 3.
4 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Second Ezra chapter 4 and verse 3. It says, Then said I, Yea, my Lord. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee.
So a lot of times when we're getting these visions, or not we, but when Daniel's getting these visions, he's getting these visions by who? The angels. The angels are giving, the angels are dispensing the visions of the Most High and what they mean. Matter of fact, what verse you on right now?
We're in verse 3, sir.
Start verse 1.
Fine. Second Ezra chapter 4 and verse 1. And the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel.
So when the Most High wants to send a vision or sends a prophecy, he gives it to an angel, and the angel comes down and delivers it to the prophet.
Fine.
Right? Read on.
Gave me an answer and said, Thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High?
He said, do you think you understand the Most High? Go ahead.
Then said I, Yea, my Lord. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee 3 ways.
It says, the angel said, I am sent to show thee what?
3 ways.
He says, I'm sent to distribute 3 different things to you. He says, so that you can compare 3 things. Read.
And to set forth 3 similitudes before thee.
And he says, but my job also is to send forth 3 what?
Similitudes.
What is a similitude?
A parable?
A parable?
Metaphor?
But not really, but you can say something. Yes, something to teach a lesson or something to give you a lesson. But a similitude is 3 comparisons, 3 things to compare each other with. He said, so what the angel is doing, the angel is giving us something that we're seeing, but we don't necessarily understand it. We don't understand what we're seeing. We just see something symbolic. What Daniel saw was actual goats, 2 he-goats fight, a ram fighting a he-goat. A ram with 2 horns fighting a he-goat with 1 horn. That's what he actually saw, and he saw them colliding. But it had a meaning to it. That's why I said a metaphor. It had a meaning behind it. We don't always understand the meaning, but later on in Daniel, that's why War jumped to verse 20 and 21. He explains, he comes back and explains what you saw. What it is that you saw in the vision. But the original vision is symbolic. It's just a similitude. It's not the exact understanding, but it's something that gives you a comparison and it has a meaning. Read on.
Verse 4. Whereof, if thou canst declare me one.
He said, now the angel in this particular situation is saying, I'm going to give you 3 comparisons, and if you can tell me what they mean, read on.
I will show thee also the way that thou desirest to see.
He said, basically it's saying, I'm going to give you 3 doors to choose. If you can tell me what's behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3, he said, then I'll grant you more permission to understand more. If you can get these 3 guesses right.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how the angel is picking the brain of the prophet, Ezra. But he's not doing that with Daniel. He's actually showing them the symbolism and then coming back and giving them the meaning. He's not necessarily picking his brain. But the angels do that because they're still there to give us understanding. And that's what Uriel's job is. We know Gabriel's the angel of messages. But they say Uriel's the angel of wisdom, light, and truth to give you enlightenment. So the angels have a particular job to show us what the Most High's interpretation is. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, as far as when they're seeing these animals, the animals have a meaning. Yep. They're symbolic for something. Yep.
So here online, this is just one of the pictures, that, like the image of the bull that took this young woman and swam her across the island, and then the bull ended up turning out to be Zeus. And he took her and lay with her and had children with her, I guess, whatever the case is. I don't know all the super Greek mythology. But the woman on top of the beast is symbolic to Greek their Greek religion and their Greek belief system. It's telling you, I'm writing you in the scriptures, the Most High is writing in the scriptures, talking to us and using the explanations that identify themselves to the Greek Empire. The woman on top of the beast. The only history that you can connect to is Edomite history, white history. Then you sit back here. This is the mythological image of it. Then you go and look at the United Nations EU image of it, and here you go. Now you have the metallic version.
And this is right in front of the EU
Yes,
building.
it is.
And what is it?
It's the woman on top of a bull. She's holding on to the horns.
So it matches the mythology?
It matches the Greek mythology, and they identify that mythology to their history, to the identity of the United Nations. And then you're sitting back and seeing this, and you see the scripture in Revelation talking about the woman on top of the beast. You just got to put two and two together. It tells you, it's showing you, this is what the Bible is talking about.
It matches the past, present, and future.
Exactly the point. Then the woman with the beast is one aspect of it. Then you sit back here and you go down to the next one. This is the actual EU building. And it's an unfinished structure. This is literally the building in like Strasbourg, somewhere, Whiteville, USA, in Europe. But look at the structure. It is built and intentionally undone. And it looks just like the Tower of Babel. And we're going to go into the next picture to tie in the next picture. I'm going to show you. It might look like a Colosseum, but it looks more like what we're about to show you right here. Let me stretch it down. That looks very much like the Tower of Babel in Babylon.
When you put them side by side.
When you put them side by side, the only difference is it's tilted a little bit more to the right in Strasbourg versus the image of Babylon, or the Tower of Babel, is tilted to the left so you can see the insides of it. It's the same structure.
Also in New York, I believe the United Nations building in New York has a statue in front of it too. Which one is that one?
That's the one that I think they talk about in Revelations with the bear paw, the eagle wings.
The eagle wings, the tiger face, yeah.
Well, see, that is called in mythology a chimera.
Yeah.
A griffin.
Well, it's chimera.
Oh, okay.
It's Khimera, and it's that animal that has different elements to its
The
body.
lions with eagle's wings.
Exactly, but it's multiple different figures of a creature.
But those are biblical figures that they put in front of their economic buildings.
But they're really they're Greek mythological figures.
Mm-hmm.
The chimera. I'm gonna use it. You jump on to the next point. So we got that image, and then you get another Greek mythological image of the 7 heads and 10 horns. Mm. The 7 heads it sounds like what?
The Hydra.
Hydra. Hit Hydra. like in the shows.
Yeah.
With the multiple heads of a beast. That's all Greek mythology. Why would the Most High use Greek mythology to explain the end time characters that have some type of power and rulership going on in the earth?
Because he's giving you the people who worship those mythological creatures.
And who sat back here and chose this mythology over serving the Most High. And they call the Most High's wisdom foolishness. For this. That's how you know who we're talking about in these end times. It's based off the characters that explain what we're reading about. Whether it's Revelations 13 and the mouth is like a lion, the feet are like a bear, but the body is a leopard. That literally is a chimera. I might be enunciating it wrong, but that's what it is. That's a chimera. And the 7 heads, 10 horns, that's a hydra. Then you have the woman on top of a beast. That's the story of Europa. Europe comes from that name, Europa. It all ties in. Is what I'm saying making sense? Yeah. So when you're reading these stories, even the rough goat are the Greeks.
Oh, and even when he's referring to America as a she,
Yep.
Who is the she? That she is Colombia.
Yeah.
And when you look at Colombia, I don't know if you got a picture of
The
Colombia.
District of Columbia.
I don't have that one.
That's why they call it the District of Columbia.
And all the old
Washington
pictures,
D.C.
all the old pictures of America was always a pure white woman.
A pure white woman floating over the prairies.
Yes.
But she was pushing forward.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually got that.
And that,
I got
and
that.
that
See,
that's
going back again.
that's symbolic of her expansion.
Yeah.
And that was the symbolism of manifest destiny.
You got to slow down the explanation.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
It's the symbolism.
Yes. Colombia. Yeah. But if we gonna pull up, we're gonna go get it. There's another verse I'm looking for real quick. Dario, you want to continue on that? I'm gonna try to find this one more verse real quick.
Okay, so we're dealing with Colombia. Look at all the art of the time period, and in the different time periods, 1800s, 1900s, 2000s, whatever. There's always symbolism. There's always pop media or media pop art that is a symbolic connection to tell the people what spirit we're going into. So they have Colombia, which is this beautiful, soft, rosy-cheeked white woman going across the plains.
Which is supposed to represent America.
It's supposed to represent America. Then you have Europa, which is another white woman, obviously. A Greek empire riding a bull, which is supposed to be Zeus, right? Because a bull is symbolic of Zeus. Meaning the Europeans never denied and never left their culture of Greek concepts, their Greek ideologies. They never left. The scripture says Israel will leave their gods, but the nations won't leave their gods. The nations stick to their beliefs. Israel will leave their beliefs and jump into all type of different religions, but the nations, they are steadfast with their gods. And that's when the Most High shows that he shows the comparison between the nations and the Israelites. They're more than likely going to keep their religion, their beliefs, but we will leave our beliefs for nothing.
This is that picture you're looking for, right, Shamshon?
So
yeah,
this
there it
just
is,
show-
right there, bro.
Even the symbolism, it still connects to their original religion, to their ideology, their God philosophy.
And they're moving
They're
westward.
not leaving that.
And guess who's running away from this white lady at? This white woman at. The Indians.
The Indians. The Indians.
They're getting the hell away from this woman at.
They're using art to show what they're really about.
Con, I got a better one for you. Take a look at this one. Make sure we're going to see the lily white girl in the white outfit act.
Yep.
But then the scripture says, and think about the next one I'll shoot you. Think about Habakkuk 2 and 5.
This is bad.
It's the same picture where it says, wherever she go,
Death follows.
death and hell follows her, right? That's the correct image of what it is. It's a damn wraith.
Yeah.
It's a damn death demon act.
Yeah.
That wherever that death demon goes, everybody dies around it act.
Yeah.
You see the dark cloud is following it, and that dark cloud is following wherever that goes is death and destruction is going that way.
That's more accurate.
That's a more accurate description of what that white lady in the sky is really supposed to be. Yes, sir.
That's the original Karen.
That's really if Karen's a death Karen,
A demon.
Yes.
the death Karen. No, the regular Karen just want to complain. This is death. She bringing fire.
You're in my parking spot.
Yeah, exactly. Die.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen. This is really the image. Now, this is what they show the image of, like Lady Liberty. See how it's light is following her?
Yeah.
She's bringing the light to the world.
To the darkness.
To the bad, dark natives.
Yeah.
Who will walk around in thongs. They're going to die. We're going to bring civilization.
To these savages.
But in reality,
It's light for them.
it's dark. And taking down the light that's already there.
Yeah.
That's really what history is showing us. But the symbolism
Crazy.
that Esau uses even to this day that ties their mythological history is what the Mosai uses to identify them in Revelations. But they're not going to talk about that because it rats them, it outs them.
It says Miss Columbia is the female national personification of the United States. It was also an historical name applied to the Americas and to the New World. So it shows you that even biblically, talking about that woman that sits on many waters,
She is the whore.
she's the whore.
Con. But they paint her like the lady.
Yeah, but a lady in white.
Yep. But she's really the lady of death and wickedness. But so I hope we have a better understanding that these visions, they're animals, but they're animals in the imagery. They're either animals or they're imagery that's tied into the Greek Empire, or it ties in directly to the symbolism of that nation the Most High is talking about. Okay? It just gives us a better understanding as to why the Most High uses these indicators the way he does. Okay? Okay, so let's do Daniel chapter 8. Where are we at now? Daniel's 8 and verse 6 now.
Yeah, we at 6. Kind of.
So that goat had a notable horn.
Kind of.
That notable horn was referring to Alexander.
Kind of.
Horn means power. Read on.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
So at this point, the Greeks were the initiators. They were sitting back here picking up a full steam, going at the ram, which the Persian made empire. Read on.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with the choler against him.
Mm-hmm.
And
choler is with anger and fury. So once again, the Greek Empire, the goat, is attacking in fury against the Persian Empire, which is the ram. Read on.
And smote the ram and brake his 2 horns. Mm-hmm. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
So listen, they defeated the Persian Empire twice. The first in the Battle of Issus, and the second in the Battle of Gaugamela. Then that was the last one. Okay, read on.
But he cast them down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Because it was his time to fall. And you read later on, I think it's Daniel's 10, that the Most High said he was sitting back here and was standing and going against the Prince of Persia, which means he was sitting back here in the principality that helped the Greek principalities wipe out the Persian and Median Empire. Let me get that real quick, because that's important also. It just hit me right now. Prince of Persia, if you guys got the verse, get it.
13?
I don't think it's 13, is it?
10 and 13.
Yes, probably, yeah. Let's go there real quick. Daniel's 10 and 13.
Daniel chapter 10 and verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Below, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia.
So he was sitting back there. He says the prince of the kingdom, meaning the principalities of the kingdom of Persia, was withstanding the charge that Christ was sitting back here and used to initiate the changing of an empire. There's history that talks about the Jews saw in the sky 2 different peoples fighting and warring, and they looked upon it like it was a good omen on their side. But what they didn't see is that in the spiritual realm, the principalities on our side were losing to the Romans' principalities and will eventually lose. It's the same thing here, where the principalities that were used in protection of the Greeks were fighting against the Persians, and the Persians were withstanding until the end, where Christ had to bring Michael and his principalities to finish off the job, because the Most High was trying to end one realm and empire and transition into another. So when you sit back here and you watch about Alexander's great victories and how he was such a great military tactician, and he was revolutionized modern warfare, and you read about Napoleon wanted to be the next Alexander, and everybody wanted to pattern their victories after Alexander. The truth is, the Most High allowed Alexander to win these wars. And if you sit back and see how he did it, he wasn't that damn smart. It was God was with him. When you sit back here and you look at it, he took those omens that he had to tell him that the Spirit was with him, and he just charged directly into the middle of the army twice. When you sit back and look at the history of the Battle of Issus and Gaugamela, he just went straight ahead, and the damn military armies folded from the inside out. He had the Persian and Mede armies spooked out, because the night before the fight, their last fight in Gaugamela, they saw a damn blood moon, and it was all spooked out and had the heebie-jeebies and didn't have confidence in war anyway. You'll sit back and see all throughout history these certain omens would spook nations out and certain stronger, larger armies, and they'd fold. The Most High did that for Israel 1,000 times. But why did he do it to us? Remember, he will remind us, it wasn't our army, it wasn't our strength, it wasn't our military capability. The Most High came through for us. There was a time when the Assyrians were going to come and wipe us out. Wipe out King Hezekiah. And, King Hezekiah prayed to the Most High, had everybody in a fast. And the night before, the military, they were in Egypt, about to finish out a fight there and head up to Israel. And the night before, an army of mice were eating at their military equipment. Then they sit back and wake up in the morning and say, man, shit, this is a bad omen. Rats is eating on our leathers out.
So
I don't think the Lord's going to be with us today. I don't think our God's going to be with us. Then they go out there in the fight, and the Spirit sat back here. It did something, I think, Israel was in the city, and the Most High came through and wiped out the Assyrians in a blast. My point is, Alexander didn't do this great military front. The Most High was with him and wanted the next nation to get their shot on earth, because we had shown the Most High umpteen thousand times we couldn't handle the crown. So he gave the crown an opportunity for every nation on earth to get their shot at leadership. Yes.
And what's so cool about it is that the caliber of animals, a goat is no match for a ram.
Mm-hmm.
But that ram was representing, like you said, that power, that person that means power. But that goat, can you actually visualize a goat killing a ram? Not this time, that will never happen.
Exactly.
That's how you know the Most High had to be.
He tell you it was an underdog scenario.
That's crazy.
It was an underdog scenario. They were undermanned in military size and number, and they still defeated them. And that's why I said the Persians were withstanding, because they had larger numbers. It was a withstand, but he still let it happen. So I'm just trying to give a little context to the history that we're reading about. Now let's jump back to Daniel chapter 8.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with the cold against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Because it was the will of the Heavenly Father. It wasn't anything Darius did or didn't do. It was his time to fall. Read on. Darius the third, Continue.
Verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great.
Listen, he was known as the leopard because of how swiftly he overcame and defeated the known world. Most of these countries just cowered to him. He had a handful of fights and got a lot done in a short time. Read on.
And when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
And he said, and when he was at his strength, his apex, Alexander, then the great horn was broken. Then he died. Okay? He had a 12-year run, and then he died. Read on.
And for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
So he says, then four notable ones. They were notable because they were with the horn through his entire conquest. So these four kings were able to get power and get regions of the world that Alexander had just taken over. Alexander died. Now what we're going to go into in a very short time, we're going to go into these different four notable ones. So in Daniel's 8 and 8, it says four notable ones. He's going to express these four notable generals in different ways in different chapters. The next verse we're going to go into is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1 through 9.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. It reads,
now we're going to get more names tied into these stories. Now you're not going to read about necessarily the notable horn. Now we're going to read about who this notable horn was. Let's go.
God. 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip.
And Alexander, the son of Philip II of Macedonia. When you read about the history of Philip of Macedon, Philip was the one who galvanized the Greeks together as one nation. Because before Philip brought them together, they were a bunch of warring nation states for decades and generations. And Josephus even talked about that, how one warring faction would fight against another warring faction, wipe out their history, and say that it was that the whole history of Greece was there. And another warring faction would come out and take them out and just delete their history. And it was a bunch of different warring cities and nations deleting and destroying each other's nation or history and saying the other ones was the new thing, new hot thing in the streets. So it was a bunch of warring factions until Philip galvanized them. And then after Philip galvanized them, then he dies, and his son Alexander takes over.
I don't know. I don't think we finished that in the Josephus. I don't know if we're going to go there today.
You mean Apion?
Yeah, against Apion, when he was discussing how they were warring with each other for so long.
Yeah, we read about that.
I don't know.
He said it was 10,000 wars. He said it was 10,000 wars amongst each other, and they were never able to maintain antiquity because whenever one group would fall, they would remove them and then say that their nation and their history was what was going on.
Okay, I forgot if we read it or not.
Maybe there's an additional part that I missed. I'm not going to say I read everything.
Yeah,
there's a lot more there.
Yeah, there's one more thing on that too.
Well, let's keep going, and if you find it, we'll stop.
All right.
Let's continue.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of
Kittim,
had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes.
So now we're tying in Daniel's 8, and now we're getting the history. And Alexander took out Darius III of the Persian and Mede Empire. Read on.
That he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
And his reign of imperialism or colonialism went from Greece all the way towards the different countries of Parthia or India. Okay? Read on.
And went through to the ends of the earth.
All the way to India, to lands that really weren't known and understood. Okay, they were looked upon as savages because nobody knew about these empires and kingdoms near India. Read on.
And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Then every nation bent the knee and agreed to pay tribute. That's how the earth is quiet. We'll pay our tribute to you. Just don't kill us. Spare our families. Spare our land. Read on.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
And then, once he got all that power, you couldn't tell him what? Nothing. He was a don. Read on.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
There you go. Okay, read on.
And after these things, he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
So now he didn't have an heir. He didn't have an heir of age that can take over this vast empire by the time he was going to die. So what does he do? He sits back here and he sits down his generals, the men that were loyal to him, and they decide to start splitting up the territory that was Alexander's. Read on.
Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
So while he was yet alive, he said, okay, Cassander, you take Greece. Lysimachus, you take Thrace and Bithynia, which is also called Hellespont. Really, what they don't teach you, we're going to go into it a little bit. He really split his kingdom up into 5 parts. But it doesn't go into. It started off with 5 parts and ended with 4. Now the history tells you it was 4, because that was the final number. But initially it was Cassander, it was Lysimachus. I said Cassander was Greece, the country of Greece. Lysimachus was Thrace and Bithynia. Then you had Antigonus I, whose land was all of Syria and all of Turkey and all of the Levant. Then you had Seleucus, whose land was Babylon East. Then you had Ptolemy, whose land was Egypt. That's what it was originally broken up into, 5 parts. But over the years, there became wars and skirmishes and fighting for territory and turf. Literally, when Alexander died in 323 BC, there were wars from 323 BC all the way into 275 BC. And it was wars for power in the region. These Edomites were going crazy, fighting for almost 50 years of wars right after Alexander died, just for control and territory over the region.
Is it very similar to feudal China?
Well, you know, I don't know a whole lot about, you know, Ho Chi Minh and all those guys. That's not even the guy. I'm just joking. I don't know. I'm not really up on China. I know that there was a lot of fighting in China, but I don't know much about that. What I do know is about. New York.
There's multiple factions that are fighting for territory
and resources. It's constant.
And there's no one guy that can supremely rule all the factions.
And that's an aspect of why they eventually got wiped out, because they kept fighting each other for power and just couldn't just accept the territory. For instance, let's go into the first one. This is the first breakup of territories. Look online. This is the first breakup of territories when it was 5 different provinces that were initially set up. Okay, so the Hellenistic kingdoms, 301 BC, after the death of Alexander the Great. So from 323 to 301, this is how the world looked. You had Cassander, which had Greece. Lysimachus had the northern part of Greece and Thrace. And that little space in between Bithynia and that Lysimachus sign, that's Hellespont. It's a little river or a little space in between the two lands. That's Hell's Point. So that was Lysimachus' territory. Then you had the little brownish color Antigonus. That was Antigonus' territory. You had all of Turkey and the land of Syria and the Levant where Israel was. Then you had Seleucus, still had that territory all going from Babylon eastward. Because it starts where the Euphrates is, and it just goes out east towards India. Then you had Ptolemy, had just the northern tip, the northern portion of Egypt. This was how the empire was split up when it was 5 generals that Alexander had. Okay? Now, during this time, then what ends up happening is in 300 BC was a war called the Battle of Ipsus. And the Battle of Ipsus dealt with Antigonus wanting greater control over the entire region and pretty much ultimately wanting to take out all of the other generals. So the Seleucid Empire, Lysimachus, and the majority of the other generals come together to defeat Antigonus, and they kill him, and they divvy up his territory. Okay? So ends up what happening is, let's go back to the other image. This whole area was Antigonus's all the way down to where the Philistines. So pretty much it was from like all of Turkey to Gaza, which is where the Philistines were. The Philistines' territory was, right? So then after Antigonus dies in 300 BC, the land splits up, and now you see Ptolemy gets half of the Levant. He gets Jerusalem. He gets even up to Tyre and Zidon. And then you get Seleucus gets the other part. Seleucus gets Syria also. He gets Syria upward. And it stretches towards portions of Turkey. So Seleucus gets Turkey and Syria. Lysimachus in the orange expands his territory. That was once, this whole area was Antigonus up top in Turkey. Lysimachus gets a portion, the west of Turkey. Lysimachus gets, I'm sorry, not Lysimachus, but Seleucus gets the east of Turkey, Syria, and his original lands. So he gets their lands, and now the territory is divvied up into 4 regions now. A better map. First of all, this map has Carmania, which is a good one to have.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the one. This is the better image. It's a clearer map of the 4 empires being split up properly. Now the blue is.
You just don't see Ptolemy.
The Ptolemy's is in blue.
Yeah.
Ptolemy's is in blue, and there's this variation because they're saying that the middle part was yellow, which is Seleucus. It was at one time. Let me explain. This map explains the wars of the Diadochia. The wars of the Diadochia are a cumulative set of wars from 322 BC all the way to 275 BC. Like I said, it was 50 years of wars in general, and it was a lot of push and pull, wins and losses, and fighting over territory. If we're going to be specific, what we're about to read into today is more connected to this map, where the Ptolemies had complete control over Jerusalem and Israel. That's what you're going to get now.
And I want to read something real quick about why Ptolemy wanted Egypt. It says, when Alexander's satraps proceeded to carve out portions for themselves, Egypt was seized by Ptolemy, whose quick brain had grasped at once the advantages accruing from the possession of an inexhaustible granary and from the relative remoteness of its portions.
And he has access to the ports.
He got access to the ports, and it says he has an inexhaustible amount of grain coming out of Egypt. So it was an agricultural power move, because if you control the food, you control the currency
And shipping.
You
got shipping control and food control.
That's what Russia is taking Ukraine back for, because Ukraine is the world's producer of grain and fertilizer.
On top of natural minerals that are in the trillions of dollars in worth.
And so these 4 generals had their minds on particular parts of the world because they was looking at the resources they can extract from those particular portions. It's still a power move, still money move.
It's all a power move. It's all money moves. And, we're not too worried about what's happening in Greece or what's happening in India or what's happening in Persia. But during the time of the Greek Empire, there were periods of time where the Ptolemies had control over Jerusalem, and there was periods of time when the Seleucid dynasty had powers over Jerusalem. Our area in turf was like a battleground for control. Greece was pretty much solidified and secure by the Ptolemies, but our area, the Levant, was always a hotbed of war and contention. Okay, so and the wars of Diadochi, that's all fancy Greek words for the wars of secession. The wars after the secession and the divvying up of power by Alexander. This is why when you read Daniel's chapter 11, the entire chapter deals with the Syrian wars. The Syrian wars is talking about this territory in the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Is the wars of the Levant area, the wars of the Levant region, and all the different back and forth and the struggle for power between the Ptolemaic kingdom and the Seleucid kingdom, and the back and forth between the 2 kings. And what you read in history is that the Ptolemaic kingdom, for the first 3 or 4 generations, I'll say to the fourth Ptolemy, they were in power. And they had power over our region. Then things shifted to the Seleucid reign. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Seleucid the Fourth. Seleucid the Fourth is when he started getting power and traction over our region.
Antiochus. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, Antiochus was like the next son up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was actually the youngest of his sons, and Antiochus killed his older brother to get power. But it was the first four generations of Ptolemies had power over our region. Then it was shifted. That's why when you see one map after Issus, it was right after Issus. The Ptolemies had control, which was the empire of Egypt, had control over us in the Levant. Then, over different times, by the time we got to 275 or so, or later, you will see the Seleucid Empire had power over us at times also.
There was flip-flopping control.
They were flip-flopping control.
And these were supposed to be the descendants of the four friends that Alexander divided up his kingdom with.
Exactly.
His four childhood friends. And they end up becoming enemies to each other.
And killing each other. And then it was a beef. Their sons were fighting each other, and their sons' sons, their sons' sons. And it just kept growing like that. And then you look up and the Romans took out Greece. And the Romans took out Thrace and Bithynia, and they make their way to Egypt. And they make their way to Seleucus. And as the Greeks were fighting each other, the Romans start taking them out. And then we had to learn how to serve and adapt to the Roman way. Just kind of giving you guys a big picture of what's happening. So, just some key scenarios. It was once 5 generals: Cassander, Lysimachus, Antigonus, Seleucus, Ptolemy. Then they came together in 300 BC and took out Antigonus. Then there was 4 notable wings, 4 notable leaders. Okay? So, with that being said, we are in Daniel's what? We finished Daniel's. Let's go to Daniel 7. Deuteronomy. I'm sorry. No. Daniel 7 and 6.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6.
Daniel 7 and 6.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it.
So we know that the Greek Empire was known as the leopard. Okay.
Where you at right now? Daniel what?
Daniel 7 and 6.
God. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads.
The beast had 4 heads, because it was eventually those 4 generals that were the last men standing in those wars for secession. Read on.
And dominion was given to it.
Each of those 4 kings had dominion. Once, like I said, Cassander had Egypt. Lysimachus had Thrace and Bithynia, which is the northeastern part of Greece and the western part of Turkey. Seleucus had eastern Turkey all the way down through Syria and all the way east as far as India. And then you had Egypt. Ptolemy had Egypt and the southern Levant, which is Jerusalem, Tyre, and Zidon down south. And Seleucid and Ptolemy is literally focused on in Daniel's 11. I don't want to make it too much about that because there's a lot of Josephus reading, and I don't think everybody wants to hear that all day long. But Daniel's 11 really talks about the warring factions of Seleucid and Ptolemy fighting for power and how it affected us. The reason it's in Daniel's because that striving affected us. Okay? And it kind of put us in a position to choose sides, to choose living the right way, or to choose sitting back here for political purposes, choosing the Greek way. And we were being tossed in 2 and 4 and being used as pawns to fight in wars.
That's no different than us now being in America, but not having control when the Spanish-American War happened.
Yep.
And then the French-American War happened.
Yep.
And then then the War of Independence between America and the Brits.
Yep.
We were in the middle of all 3 of those wars.
And being used, trying to be used to fight. Listen, Jake was being asked to fight for the British.
Yep.
Jake was being used to fight for the for the Yankees. Both sides. And we're being pulled back then, and we're being pulled even further back in those days. Some are being asked to fight for Seleucus. meaning we're asked to fight for Ptolemy. So this was happening during these times also.
So we get stuck in the middle, fighting
the white man's war,
fighting wars that we have no power over.
Exactly. So, with all that being the case, let's continue. Let's let Daniel 7 and 6 go. And did we finish verse 9? Did we get to verse 9 in Maccabees?
Right.
Okay, let's go to 1 Maccabees 1 and verse, let's get 6 again.
Come. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and his servants bare rule, every one his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years.
So once again, like the Ptolemies. Ptolemy was like a name of a king, like a Caesar, like a president. It was Ptolemy 1 Soter, Ptolemy 2 Philadelphus, Ptolemy like 4 Philopator. There was a bunch of different Ptolemies that were the sons of the original Ptolemy, who was a general to Alexander. Then you had the Seleucid line. Seleucid was like a Caesar name for the leader of the Syrian groups. Okay, so from generation to generation, there was war, there was evils, there was the pushing of the Greek way. But what you're going to realize is all throughout history, Esau's has been killing and killing and killing and fighting for power and killing and killing and killing. It has never stopped. War has never stopped on earth. And it never will until Christ comes back. But let's continue.
God. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
We're going to leave it at that because that evils were multiplied and the sons. That's telling you from 323 BC all the way down to 168 BC. It was just wars amongst each other. Specifically, wars amongst the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. Okay? This is why it's so important to learn your history, because it all still ties in with the scriptures. Okay? Let all this go. And we're going to jump now to the Josephus. Josephus, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1.
Con. Page 308. Antiquity of the Jews, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1. Now when Alexander, king of Macedon, had put an end to the dominion of the Persians, and had settled the affairs of Judea after the forementioned manner.
So when he settled Judea, everything was cool. Remember? They respected him. They was going to give tribute to him. And he brought a lot of Jews with him to go to war. He said it also. He says, if y'all want to fight with me, come with me. So Israel went with him to go to war with Alexander. Read on.
It says, and has settled the affairs of Judea after the forementioned manner. He ended his life.
He didn't kill himself, but he died. Read on.
And as his government fell among many, Antigonus obtained Asia.
Now we're understanding why I said Antigonus. Why it can't be some foreign thing as you're learning. We're going to look back at that first map when Alexander split things up initially. He said Antigonus got Syria. Syria was the entire Levant region, including present-day Turkey. And you're seeing that right here on the screen. Antigonus I had all of that orange area. Antigonus was originally given Syria. Read on.
Seleucus, Babylon.
Babylon eastward. And that's why like the ending connecting point is the rivers. And the rivers of Babylon are the Euphrates River and the Tigris. So Seleucus was given right where that water starts, eastward. Seleucus was given Babylon. Read on.
and of the other nations which were there, Lysimachus governed the Hellespont.
The Hellespont was that little waterway in between that separates Greece from Turkey. So Lysimachus had west of Turkey, which was like northeastern Greece, the waterway that goes east. They listen, like Lysimachus, they say he governed Hellespont or Thrace and Bithynia. That's another way to explain what Lysimachus had jurisdiction over. Okay?
Man, they still warring to this day.
Huh? Not?
The Greeks and the Turks, they
had beef.
They got beef today.
Major beef. It never stopped.
Matter of fact, it almost escalated to a full-scale war a couple of years ago between the Turks and the Greeks.
Yes, they did.
And they still argue about food today. Who created the
kebab?
The kebab. It's the
You really gonna sit back and go
it's the gyro.
The kebabi. It's the kebabi.
The kebabi.
You get the meat.
Yeah.
And you get the rice. And you get the sauce. No. You get the kebab. You get the sauce. You get the rice. You get the meat. Like it's the same damn deal. You just flipped it upside down.
Yeah.
You gotta watch it. That is a hilarious skit.
Yeah.
And people even online say, man, that's literally how it is out there.
Yeah. But they do it today because the gyro is said to be Greek. And the Greeks say we created the gyro, the little meat on the skewer.
Yeah.
And then the Turkish said, no, we created the gyro.
Yeah.
We just call it the donar. It's not called a gyro, it's called a donar. And so there's actual food battles.
So who's right? Nobody knows.
Who knows, man?
Was you out there in the 1100s?
Yeah.
Skewing meat? No.
Yeah, so they battle about who created everything. Who was the first to it.
And they're always battling over like the islands of Cyprus.
Yep.
And all the islands in between. They're always fighting over territory to this day. Anyway, and everybody's like, y'all fight over a little island that's uninhabitable. Why y'all even tripping?
But it's ancient beef, though.
I know it's ancient beef. It's ancient beef.
Yep.
But, okay, so all this is going on. So let's get back to the map. Initially, Antigonus was part of the 5 individuals of this generalship that the kingdom was split into. So Antigonus got Syria. Lysimachus got Hellespont, Thrace, and Bithynia. Read on.
And Cassander possessed Macedonia.
Cassander possessed Macedonia, which was southern Greece. Okay, read on.
As did Ptolemy, the son of Lagus, seized upon Egypt.
And we know Ptolemy controlled Egypt in that region. Okay, read on.
Line 3. And while these princes ambitiously strove one against another, everyone for his own principality.
It says they were ambitiously striving against one another. So the lands that were initially divvied up didn't satisfy anybody. Nobody was happy that they got a piece of land. You're like, okay, let me go settle myself up, then I'm going to get my army and go get this dude next door. I don't like this. I don't like that guy got too much land. Why did he get that much land? I didn't get that land.
Yep.
And that's what it started happening. And that's what was called the Wars of the Diadache. It was the Wars of Secession. It was the wars after the land got divvied up. There was more beef after that. And it was 50 years of fighting just for them to finally say, okay, I'll take this territory and I'm cool with it. Okay? And then after that, after the Wars of the Diadache, then you still had Ptolemy and Seleucus fighting over land. But it was just 2 of them and not all of them. Okay? Just trying to paint the picture so we understand the entire story. Read on.
It came to pass that there were continual wars, and those lasting wars too, and the cities were sufferers.
The cities suffered because the people got poured into these wars. The people got poured into these issues. Because in the midst of Esau fighting, they're bringing the citizens and making them fight, bringing the sons, training them up. They're going to their certain death. This is how it was. The cities suffered.
Rich man's war, poor man's burden.
That's what it is. This is how it's always been. That was why Ali said, man, what did the Viet Cong do to me?
They never called me.
They didn't call me, nigga. That's what he said.
He said, "You my enemy when I want freedom."
That's my
He
point.
said, "You my enemy when I want tax breaks or something like that." He said he kept calling the white. He said, "The white man here, my enemy." He said, "You won't even protect me here at home, but you want me to fight overseas."
And that's what they're saying out in Israel. Ptolemy never called me a nigga. Why I gotta go fight Ptolemy? Solution never called me a nigga. Why I gotta fight these people? It's the same concept. They're getting dragged into foreign wars that they don't get any benefit out of. The people were suffering. Their resources, their sons, their children, their daughters were spoils and casualties of war. All this was happening for over 50 years. And hundreds in regards to those two families I was talking about. Okay, let's continue.
It came to pass that there were continual wars, and those lasting wars too. And the cities were sufferers, and lost a great many of their inhabitants in these times of distress.
That's what I'm saying. The people died. Read on.
And so much that all Syria, by the means of Ptolemy, the son of Lagus, underwent the reverse of that denomination of Savior, which he then had.
So he said Ptolemy, in the midst of those wars with Syria, lost a lot of their population also. Hold this real quick. And let's continue. I think we explained that pretty clear. Are there any questions on the 5 and it became 4? And how that process went down? Okay, so we're good on that. Let's continue.
Line 4.
So in the midst of, this was one of those periods of time where Ptolemy starts pushing up towards Syria. This map is a little grainy, but if you look at the map, Ptolemy's land is in green now, and it's starting to go up. This land is actually getting past Tyre. That green, that little city on the left near the sea is Tyre. He's gotten past that now.
He pushed up.
Now he's in Syrian territory. Just to make sure we're clear. And this whole area was called Syria.
Mm-hmm.
So if this whole area was called Syria, he's sitting back here and taking a bite out of Syria here.
The bottom half.
But it's still called Syria. So this is where he's like, a lot of these people in Syria are getting affected by Ptolemy's push north. Okay? Just to make sure we understand, Syria is also talking about the land of Israel. Because Israel was in the region of Syria. It's not just talking about Syrian people. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
Okay, let's continue.
Line 4. He also seized upon Jerusalem, and for that end made use of deceit and treachery.
He used deceit and treachery, Esau's number one tactics, to sit back here and take over Jerusalem. Read on.
For as he came into the city on a Sabbath day.
So listen, he strolls in, Ptolemy Soter, strolls into the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. Read on.
As if he would offer sacrifice, he without any trouble gained the city.
Listen, they sat back and opened the gates for him. Because you're supposed to sit back and offer a sacrifice to the Most High. Alexander did it, didn't he?
Yeah, time.
Didn't Alexander get off his horse and bow down to the high priest and said, I saw this in a vision? Ptolemy Soter was there. Alexander killed animals or offered animals to be slaughtered. You know what? Ptolemy goes and tells the priest, hey, I'm coming to offer sacrifice. He strolls in and houses the entire city.
This has happened multiple times in history.
This was the first time. This is why when you sit back here and read about Antiochus Epiphanes, how when they were sitting back here and killing Israelites on the Sabbath day, we already knew better about this. There was a lesson to this around 300 or so BC, not to do this.
Don't trust him.
Don't trust them. We knew this already. And we still, like a sucker, fell for it again. Hold this. Go to Genesis 25.
Two-time loser.
Because when we read a story about Antiochus Epiphanes and all that stuff and Hanukkah, you think this is the first time that you experienced this. Oh man, we got hoodwinked and bamboozled. We were led astray. But we already knew what was going on. We knew they had this capability in them.
Learned it the first time.
Huh? So we're in Genesis 25 and 27. Let's get here real quick. Let me. Genesis 25. Yeah, Cry. Get somebody else to read. We gotta get out of here. Taiwan. Let's just swim real quick.
Tahawam Rakha, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Bayasha Allah.
Taiwan Macha, Shah Shabbatah, Bad Shah, Baya Shah, I match him. Right? Yahweh Hashem Yashar
Yahweh Hashem Yahshar Bakasam.
Okay. Genesis 25 and 27.
Genesis chapter 25 and verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
Listen, we know Esau is a cunning hunter. But what's the key to being a cunning hunter, to be a great hunter in the first place? What does a person must do?
First thing, patience.
Well, patience is a major thing. But a cunning hunter has to be a great what?
Tactician.
Student first. You have to really study your enemy. Or study your prey. Learn what are their tendencies? What are their habits? How do they think? How do they do things? You can't defeat anybody if you don't understand them. So tacticians I would say tactician is the second part. Students 1, tactician is 2, patience is 3. It's no different than those guys from Duck Dynasty. I go back to those guys all the time. They made millions of dollars learning how to make the sound that attracts them. Then you need the patience. Then you got to have the ability to wait. And you got to have the skill. But you got to study them first. To sit back and listen to them long enough to say, can I duplicate that sound? And you know, they have different sounds at different times of the day. Can I duplicate? Because I don't know about duck calling or the sounds of duck calling, but I would imagine there's mating sounds, there's communication sounds, there's
Distress sounds.
So if I'm going to make a sound, it's got to be the right frequency, not to run them off.
Well, they
Look at the thinking that has to go into it. Then to learn, you have to learn sounds enough to even do that. So you almost have to have a musical background to understand the pitch and the sounds you need to get them to where you want them to be. It's a lot of work that goes into just killing birds. You would think you can just be some hack guy. Bah, 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 bah. That's not how they do it, bro. They go up there, they know, they take all this time for one shot. You ever see those shows? They're in the wild, or they're trying to hunt. They say, "Listen, son," and the father is teaching the son, "Steady your breathing, steady your heart rate, relax, see it. Don't shoot, not yet. Take your time, feel it." I'm like, all this is to kill a damn animal, like? And the answer is yes. The level of work and dedication it takes to accomplish that is what makes him a great hunter. He's into killing and murdering animals. That's not the point. Yes.
And after the kill, the main thing, these cats has not ran, has not done anything. The breathing, after they shoot that animal,
They're calm.
I'm like, this dude has not done no running or nothing.
Because they also understand if you don't kill them with a kill shot, you distress the meat. And you can't even enjoy the meat. If you gotta hit them in a place where they're immediately out. Because if they're stressing, if they're struggling, if they're moving around, then you can taste it. You can taste the stress in the meat. I never knew meat tasted stressful, but it's the truth. The muscles tense up, and the meat isn't as good.
Yeah, they say that the cortisol releases to the bloodstream, and it changes the taste of the meat.
Then that's science, man. I don't know nothing about that. I'm glad the damn thing is dead. I want to go home and get out of this heat. It's too damn hot outside.
Or
I'd rather get a bird. I'd rather get a steak from somewhere else.
Or you in a swamp and you get eaten by mosquitoes all day long, and you got leeches in the water, and you got to be in their environment, put yourself in their environment to get to them. And that whole thing requires a blind. You got to have a mini blind. You have a duck blind. You can't expose yourself. You can't make noise.
And sometimes the smells. Remember we talked about the hunters, and they said that about the.
Yeah.
You gotta have certain pheromones on.
Certain aromas.
This is what hunting is. It's the work.
Yeah.
This is why they have the animals up on their mantles.
Or
Look how much work I put into getting that.
Esau will even go as far as putting the urine of the animal that he's hunting.
Yep.
He'll put deer urine on him.
Yeah.
And douse himself with deer urine or female urine to attract the bucks, to attract the male bucks.
Because it's about the points on their head.
Yep.
The more points on their head, the more valuable it is.
The Boone and Crockett scale.
That's why I said it's about the point. The points. It's about the points.
Yeah.
You know what it means. I don't know that crap.
Yeah.
Who the hell said I'm going to call it the Boone and Crockett scale? There's a science to everything.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Yep.
And that's why he is successful. He knew these guys followed a certain day.
He's a cunning. He's not just a hunter. Because hunters.
Yeah.
Gad hunts.
He could have sat back here and just went to war.
Gad only hunt what they eat for the day.
God.
It's not a sport for them.
Yeah.
Esau hunt for sport.
Yeah.
There's a little gratification behind it.
Yeah. And then listen, he sat back here, why do I have to go and fight these guys fair when I can fight dirty? That's the thinking. So this is what the cunning hunter is. I study my prey, I study my targets so I can make this easier. I can work smarter, not harder.
Yep.
Okay? So let's go now with that information. Thou woman, let's keep going. It says, he also seized upon Jerusalem in the Josephus. Matter of fact, yeah, let's do that.
What line was that on?
He also seized upon Jerusalem. I'm not sure what number that is.
Line 4.
Okay.
He also seized upon Jerusalem, and for that end made use of deceit and treachery. For as he came into the city of the Sabbath day, as he would offer sacrifice, he, without any trouble, gained the city, while the Jews did not oppose him, for they did not suspect him to be their enemy.
They didn't suspect him to be the enemy, and then when they found out he was an enemy, they're like, oh, it's Sabbath day, I'm not going to fight. So it was a double whammy anyway.
It's the Sabbath.
Well, see, that is where Israel is religious as hell at. But we'll go on that another day. I don't want to piss off the Jew out here like that. That wants us to sit back and do nothing and just watch people get killed out. Anyway,
Unresting.
didn't Christ say it's a good thing to do a good thing on the Sabbath day? You know what a good thing is? Protecting your kids. Protecting your children from slavery is a good thing.
Sorry, son, I can't use any fire.
It is the Shabbat. Listen, or I defend my family because it's a good thing to protect your family from slavery.
Fight back.
Con. So anyway, that's why Christ had to come back. This is a great reason why Christ had to come back at. So we can learn some spiritual common sense.
Con.
But let's continue.
While the Jews did not oppose him, for they did not suspect him to be their enemy, and he gained it thus, because they were free from suspicion of him, and because of that day they were at rest and quietness. And when he had gained it, he reigned over it in a cruel manner.
Stop. Before we go any further, there's a scripture that I want to put in. Listen. Okay. Go 2 Thessalonians. To our credit on this one, this hadn't happened yet. It's going to be verse 3 and verse 4.
That's in Thessalonians?
2 Thessalonians.
That chapter.
What chapter?
2 Thessalonians 2, verse 3 and 4.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first.
There has to be a falling away first. We have to fall first. Read on.
And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
The son of perdition was not revealed yet. The son of hell was not revealed yet. Even though we're reading in 1 Maccabees 1 and 9 that evils were multiplied on the earth, they were multiplied on earth because that man was evil. But we didn't understand that at that time. We thought the Greeks were no different than the Persian people. We thought the Greeks were no different than the Babylonians that were our captors. The Babylonians and Persians had mercy on us.
Right.
They operated honorably. They wouldn't. None of these other nations would do something like this. So for Esau to come in here, why would we think they were any different than other empires that just wanted tribute? So to our defense, we might have been naive in our position of not defending ourselves on the Sabbath, but we didn't know the white man like we know the white man. You know what I mean?
It wasn't the Klan yet.
The Klan wasn't around.
Like this. I hate you. He wasn't that way.
It wasn't Mississippi Bird didn't come out yet. We didn't know that stuff yet. So we looked at them as just another nation that had no pigment.
And then when you look at it, the Alexander the Greek had honor to give to the Most High by providing sacrifice.
And we were just cool with them a week ago.
Yeah.
Like around 15 years ago, it was cool. And we're paying our bills.
The son of perdition had not been revealed, which means that he's the son of perdition.
That's the point. We just didn't know it. We know he was Diablo. We didn't know he was Diablo. So we're sitting back here thinking he's going to be honorable. And it wasn't like they weren't paying their beeper bills, hot.
Yeah.
They were paying their bills, hot. So why would they come in and try to put us in slavery? Because that's what happened. It said Ptolemy began a cruel reign on us. Okay, now hold on. What we didn't know back then was what we know now in John chapter 10 and 10.
Well, he did say evils were multiplied on the earth.
But that's after you think the writer wrote that before the Antiochus stuff happened?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you know what he's showing, the mind frame of our captors became more cruel.
Kind of.
And they didn't allow us certain freedoms. And we'll get into that too. We'll get into that in just a minute.
But let's go John 10 and 10.
John chapter 10 and verse 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill.
Listen, I'm going to say this. Listen, 9.5 tribes, Gad and Native Americans, and how Esau dealt with them didn't happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Esau giving us 1,000 reasons not to trust him now. But he says the thief does what?
Cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy.
We didn't realize that yet. We just thought the white man came to get his tribute. And to sit back and give up sacrifices. We didn't know that all his intentions are about eventually taking you over. Because that's what it is now. This is why in Georgia, Russia, there is a foreign, what's the damn law called? It is a foreign, I forgot the specific name of the law. But what the law states is, you have to disclose to the government if you are a humanitarian company who funds you.
They don't like that though.
Well, that's why they are trying to do a coup and to not allow the elected officials of Georgia, Russia, to go into their position. There is a president that lost her election. She was the president of Georgia, Russia. She's French. How the hell you got a French woman being the president of a Russian country? Doesn't make sense. She lost the election to people that are Georgian, and she says, I'm not leaving. The election was rigged. And then they're trying to establish a color revolution with people fighting against the new government coming in. But just 6 months ago, they approved a law that forces every humanitarian aid, every business that does business in that country has to disclose who finances them. That's an anti-Soros law. And that's the only way you stay on top of getting your country destroyed from the inside. Because what they do is we bring humanitarian aid, we help the people out, we feed the babies, we give them clean water, and also while we're in here and we make our imprint in the community, now we go to the colleges. Now we sit back and put our input on the students in the colleges. And then we teach the students in the colleges how to properly protest and instigate riots. And then once we show the police getting caught slipping, being physical with them, we make the video go viral, put it on CNN. Now you got the whole world looking at this country like it's messed up.
Justification.
And now we got to bring in UN troops
to
stabilize the madness.
This has been the game that was ran in Libya. This was the game ran in the entire the Arab Spring from 2011 down. That was what the whole Arab Spring was about. That's what Maidan in 2020 from 2014 in Ukraine was about. They sat back here and had protesters who were hired to sit back here and cause all this fighting and mayhem at this public square. Then they had a shooter shot a pedestrian. Then they blame it on Russian instigation. And then all this stuff happens, and then you take the leader out that was there that kept things peaceful and put another regime change in there.
Did it in Hong Kong?
They tried to do it in the Denim Revolution in Belarus. They tried to do the Tulip Revolution in Georgia. Before, they've done it in multiple countries. They did it in Serbia. This is what they do. This is how they regime change without the United States government being there.
And NGOs.
NGOs. The number one is National Endowment of Democracy. And that started in the 80s. And the CIA, the money comes from the government, funds the NED. The NED money goes to all these color revolution schemes. Because if they can sit back here and change the government in Georgia, even to the point where these countries in Russia understand that you can't even allow. There's different TV channels that they fund that push different propaganda, but nobody ever knows where the money comes from. Who finances these television stories? Who finances these reporters? Who finances the airspace? And this is why certain countries are like, you know what? No, from here on out, we need to know who's funding this.
And we know who's coming to our house. It's a Trojan horse.
That's the point.
These corporations and organizations.
It's a Trojan horse.
Are Trojan horses.
Which ties into the scripture in John 10:10. The thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. So they might bring humanitarian aid. They might get Native Americans blankets. But what are those blankets got on them?
Smallpox.
Smallpox. I'm helping you. You want to stay warm? Here you go. But the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. So you have to understand, once the man of perdition has been revealed, you got to understand what his end game is. But what they do is they don't reveal their hand until it's too late. And they bring water, they sit back here and bring different help, economic help, some roads. We'll do some things to look good, but they're coming to break you. This is the mind of the Edomite nation. This is the mind of the wicked. Listen, that could be the wicked in us. It could be the wicked. Jake did the same thing. Listen, they tell you in jail, don't accept nobody giving you chips, giving you snacks. You don't know how much snacks cost, Doc.
You don't know
Them
what
snacks don't cost 50 cents, Doc. Don't get it twisted. Those chips don't cost 25 cents, Doc.
I did you a favor.
Listen, it's a favor. Well, you don't know what the cost of that favor is, Doc. You might have to die or other bad things happen to you to pay off that debt. That's my point. That's the devil too. That's the devil, right? There's a story of this cat had like Oreo cookies and chips on his bed, right? But you better not take them chips out. You better not eat a goddamn cookie out. You better put them out in the front and say, nah, bro, no thank you. I will get my own commissary. Listen, you smacking on chips out. Them chips come with a cost out. Them cookies cost. Listen, it's a heavy price for those Oreos out.
Yeah.
That's the game. Yes, sir.
There was an old movie back in the 70s called Penitentiary.
Listen, well, that's what we watched that. Hey, was that the one with the foreman with the foreman mouth out?
Leon Isaac Kennedy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
refused to take it from that big black dude. He wanted to give him that candy. He said, no, I don't want that candy. But he still wound up having to fight for his man.
Yeah, but that whole movie was like crazy like that.
And a lot of youngsters.
Hell, you better not go to jail. You better not do no crime. You better not. And you better not take nothing from these suckers. You dig? Listen, all facts. All damn facts. So it's not just the white man, it's the wicked mind in general. It's like that. Whew. Yeah, bro. I remember that. I saw that. I saw one of the scenes where not the main character, but this fresh fish that came in there, and they did a dirty act. But point is, like, first thing is don't go to jail. That's the first lesson. Then if you do, don't take nothing from nobody. You don't just play this. The white man's the devil the Bible speaks of. Everybody in there is the devil out. You better know it. You better know that going in.
You gonna catch fades first.
Shh, bro. You just kinda.
In San Antonio, they do what's called a coro check. A coro is a heart. Corazon, the corazon, your heart.
You better figure it out.
In San Antonio, they do what's called a coro check. So basically, somebody just punch you in your head just to see where your heart, see if you're gonna fight back.
You best not cry, nigga.
Yeah.
It gotta come out of you, right? You better do something to fight back.
It's a heart check. They get punched in the face just to see what you about off the rip. So you just getting there. You just got your flip flops. You just got your orange suit. You ain't got your bearings together yet. Yeah. You ain't even made breakfast yet. You got your lips swole up already.
And you buzzing. Your head is buzzing out.
And if you don't fight back, then you gonna fight every day. You gonna get punked every day. So they got their own rules. They have their own rules in jail, man.
Beast law.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Law of the jungle.
Like I said, first things first. Do not go to jail out. And if you do, you better get ready to fight and teach. You better be teaching the Bible. You better teach the Bible. You better teach the word of the Lord.
Revelation.
And throw your hands. Throw your hands and teach the word of the Lord.
Matter of fact, San Antonio.
You think I'm lying?
Matter of fact,
it's both things.
San Antonio.
And you better be consistent with teaching the Lord, not flip flopping.
Yeah.
Because if you flip flop, you're gonna get in trouble too.
San Antonio just failed inspection for having one of the worst jails in Texas. They just failed a health inspection. It's not even healthy to be in jail. Not alongside the animals in there, but just the amount of sickness and uncleanliness, and the food failed also.
What?
The food failed inspection.
What?
I don't know how the hell we got the jail talk out.
Yeah, bro.
We got the penitentiary talk out.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the jail is bad. The jail alone, not even penitentiary. The jails are horrible here in San Antonio. They're overcrowded. And they got the highest suicide rate
in the country, right?
And for jails,
San Antonio got the highest suicide rate amongst Dallas, which has a bigger population. Dallas-Fort Worth.
The first 48 cats, it's worse than the first 48 boys.
Worse than Houston, which has a bigger population. They said that the conditions are subhumane, damn near in San Antonio. The jail.
Downtown, bro.
The new jail too. That was the new jail. That was the new one. The new one's already oversaturated.
Wasn't it Whacking Hut Act?
No, that's down south. That's the prison.
No,
There was a Whacking Hut down here.
No, that was a little bit further south San Antonio, like South Pleasanton. What'd you say, Mark?
No, the Wagon Hut used to be downtown.
There was Wagon Hut downtown.
You talking about the one that?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the one that was near the Bill Miller barbecue?
It was Bill Miller barbecue. That's what it was. Bill Miller. That's what I was saying. It was no Bill Miller's, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Man, I went to jail here one time in Texas, and I'm gonna tell you, I didn't even make it to the big house. It was just talking about, we're about to go to the big house. 20 people in the holding cell. I had to sleep by the toilet.
You don't want to sleep in the toilet.
I had to sleep. My head was on a bench, but I had to. The Most High gave me some air from the vent because I was hyperventilating. I was about to have a panic attack, and I even was saying, man, they don't even open the little door, the little thing like that. They don't even open that for you.
So you can breathe.
Air, and if it wasn't for that one little vent out, but all the oxygen, I was in there for like 18 hours, and I got out just before I went to the big house. Yep, for myself, Charlie. But man, that was my first time, man.
It's bad.
I'm gonna tell you, just in the holding cell alone, they put 20 people in there. 20. I mean, I can't go into detail.
So please don't, because
It was just bad. It was really bad. That's the oldest.
Especially if you're sleeping with your head next to the
I had
toilet.
that, man. Well, you know, they have the little divider.
Yeah.
They have the little
Okay,
divider.
okay.
But my head was right there where the man, but I laid on a little bench because once a person leaves, you can snatch their seat. So you better get to that seat. Once you get, and then I knew I was getting out, and they had some other dudes said, man, just go ahead and take my thing. I'm just pacing that, just ready to get out. But if it wasn't for that one thing, because I got that phobia.
Okay.
You know, I have that
And it
phobia.
goes
Okay,
back to
okay.
Antigonus and Cassander.
Listen, we're done with the jail line. Listen, do not go to jail.
Yeah.
And if you do, I'm gonna say it again. Use your hands and pull them scriptures out. That's all I can tell you.
You better crack some jokes if you ain't got scripture. You better make people laugh.
I don't know if Joe's gonna save you. I don't know if Joe's gonna save you.
Yeah.
Now you can be Dave Chappelle. If you want it, you want it. Anyway, let me stop. Okay, so we're gonna get back talking about these scriptures. Back to John 10 and 10.
John chapter 10 and verse 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy.
John, bro, and that's what we have to understand about Esau and the nature of wicked men. They want something out the deal, even if they sit back here and present one way, their intention is another way. Okay? So let that verse go and go to Proverbs 26 and 25. World's messed up, bro. And Esau's the head dog in this dirty dog world, bro. But he ain't the only one. Proverbs 26 and 25. Yeah, read that, so I'll get to it. Yeah, go for it.
Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 25. When he speaketh fair, believe him not.
Matter of fact, read verse 24.
Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 24. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips.
He dissembles with his words. His message is to divide and conquer, split people. Look at Esau's entire foreign policy since the time of the British Empire. He sat back here and made enemies of people that coexisted in peace from the beginning of time. The people in India and the people of Pakistan, they operated as a unit for centuries. And then you separate them by religion, you separate them by jurisdiction, and you feed that separation of belief system when that wasn't an issue from the past. You divide and conquer. Esau dissembles or divides and conquer by, hey, I'm communist, I'm socialist. They put all these different labels on you to split you up. This is how Esau's been operating. I'm light skinned, I'm dark skinned.
Yep.
He sets these divisions up to shame people, to embarrass people, to keep people divided.
You're mulatto, you're octoroon.
Yes. All these different labels they put on you for the purpose of separation, for the purpose of dividing, for the purpose of establishing cliques and not keeping people together. Okay? Continue.
He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him.
Mm-hmm.
When he speaketh fair, believe him not.
And this is the point when a person speaks, when Esau speaks fair, when he speaks respectful, when he speaks kindly, don't believe his message. Don't believe that Esau actually really cares about you.
Mm.
When Ptolemy was coming in here and he says he wants to sit back here and give his sacrifice, what they could have did was, well, sir, listen, can you and a handful of your men come in? And not the entire army.
Mm-hmm.
You had the entire army coming in there, or a large sum of people. Do you think that was something going on?
Kind of fishy.
It's fishy. You got all these guys armed up. Why can't you just bring 3 people in here?
Yeah. How many sacrifices you want to make?
Exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, but I have to have all my lieutenants and their subordinates.
Bro. Oh, they want to serve too?
They want to see.
Come back on Tuesday, Z.
What you need your weapons for to set up a
To
sacrifice?
serve the Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the whole thing. Read on.
When he speaketh fair, believe him not. For there are 7 abominations in his
And
heart.
that's the part. There's 7 abominations. There is some of them are completion. There is a complete amount of wicked devices in Esau's mind and heart when he speaks kind. And that's the mindset we have to have when we deal with him. And the truth is this, the scripture says to prove a friend in general. Mm-hmm. So listen, man, there's nothing wrong with setting up a bunch of what do you call it? What do you say?
Tests, proving grounds.
Yes, to prove if the brother that you're getting to know or the sister that you're getting to know or the eventual wife you want to deal with is worth your time. You know, listen, we're supposed to be merciful and loving. That doesn't change the fact that we should be sitting back here and be gullible.
Yeah.
If we're sitting back here and teaching the truth, you know, then we should sit back and be honorable every day.
Yeah.
We have to earn your trust just as much as you got to earn our trust.
Be wise.
I'm not sitting back here shucking just because you're a nice guy and you can make a person laugh and you're cool and you're smiling. I'm supposed to sit back here and let you get close? Hell no. We are brothers and we are sisters in this truth, but you got to earn trust. Just like I wouldn't expect us to sit back here and just automatically just trust us just because we wearing stringy clothes.
I got the Bible
And we're speaking a different language.
I got the Bible.
That's not enough. You got to see our conduct on a daily basis, and then trust is earned that way.
The Catholic priest got a Bible in the hand too.
There's some bad guys. It's just like being in jail with them. Anyway, so this is the situation about life in general. Continue.
Verse 26. Whose hatred is covered by deceit.
Their hatred is covered. I'm not going to show you how much I hate you. I'm going to mask it with friendship, with politeness, with that cordial nature.
Yeah.
Read on.
Deceit.
His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation.
And Ptolemy's wickedness was revealed and exposed amongst the entire people of Israel in the city when they had to deal with the consequences of him coming into the city and running roughshod through the city and eventually taking people captive. Let that verse go. We're going to go to Ecclesiastes and the Apocrypha also, chapter 12. Ecclesiastes and the Apocrypha. Chapter 12.
I got to ask an obvious question, but it's not an obvious question.
Okay.
Why are we doing this, bro? Why are we going into this amount of detail?
Well, why are we going into this amount of detail concerning what, Esau?
Concerning the lesson.
We're just trying to go into the history of the Greeks. And in showing the history of the Greeks, we got to show when he starts to stick his neck out so you can see who he really is. But this is the first time anybody saw people do these type of dirty tricks from people in position of leadership.
Well, this ain't new because in the old generations, the Persian Empire, Babylonian Empire, you were supposed to be a man of honor and keep your word
Especially as a leader.
as a dignitary.
This is aspects of evils being multiplied on the earth. Just like aspects of leadership was to sit back and denounce Hebrew beliefs and push the fact that the Greek belief had more antiquity and had more history behind it and validation. That's evil. Evil is sitting back here and through cunning and craftiness from the top leadership, they come in here and take a kingdom over versus just sitting back here and if we want to take you over, sit back here and take me over. Remember
The war.
part of the reason that Nebuchadnezzar was looked upon as the kingdom of gold, remember he chastised Zedekiah. So listen, man, you didn't keep your word. You told me you wasn't going to do a deal with the Egyptians. And I trusted your word. Yeah. I even brought you to Babylon to double check and look you in the eyes man to man for you to confirm that you're not messing with the Egyptians. And for the second time you told me you didn't. Now I'll find out you did. Now I got to kill your sons and you're going to see them get killed. And that's going to be the last thing you see. I'm going to poke your eyes out and shoot you back to Babylon. And that's going to be your punishment. But he was a man of honor. And if King Zedekiah would have kept his word, Nebuchadnezzar wouldn't have to do that.
So it's almost like it's the time period or the background setting of when you shake a man's hand and you make a deal. A deal is a deal. A deal is a deal. We shook hands. We agreed. we walk out with the same mentality, the same premise, and we keep our word because we agreed. But now it's the writing says this. You got to look in the writing. It's like, well, the very
You got to
very
look between the
print.
fine print.
The fine print says
He says this. What does he mean?
Yeah.
Now it's those shadow wars.
Yeah.
He says this. What's his real intention? Now the man of perdition is revealed. Now that type of wicked thinking is implied in the earth. No different than when Cain got in power. What did he start doing? He started sitting back here and establishing property lines.
Yep.
And people lived a simpler life. And then he instituted this type of knowledge and operating ways that people weren't accustomed to. Robbing and raping and thieving and stealing. When I say rapine, R-A-P-I-N-E. He did all these type of deceptive practices that the world wasn't accustomed to. And now we're back here again with the Greeks doing the same things.
Yeah. Finding advanced methods of extraction.
And deceitful ways that you have to figure out and read between lines and be more cunning and sly than them. That wasn't how it was supposed to be.
Right.
Be a man of your word, be a man of principle, and it will be honored.
If we have a problem, we will fight like men.
Mm-hmm.
And we will fight man to man, face to face, eye to eye.
That is an aspect of Rome and Greece being lesser metals. And the Persian and Medes, which was silver, and the Babylonians being gold. They were men of their word. They still were sinners, and they were still idolaters, but you could still be a man of honor.
Integrity meant something. Don't mean it now.
Now it's being thrown out the door now.
You got Biden nowadays. Like, I will not. And no one's above the law.
Yeah.
Son,
I'm not going to pardon my son. 6 months later.
Yeah.
Biden's son was pardoned. He was pardoned for stuff that he may or may not have done in 2014. I'm like, whoa.
10 years before you were president.
Well, and it was when he started doing dirt with Ukraine.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna clear you from some dirt you're probably going to get investigated for.
Yeah.
But you haven't yet.
I've been
The
pardoned.
contracts from China.
The contracts from China, contracts. He was put on the board. He was put on the board for an energy company in Ukraine. And this guy don't know nothing about energy, nothing. Why did he get put on the board in Ukraine? You don't know about energy?
No.
You're a lawyer. What does a lawyer got to do with energy in a foreign country?
Awesome.
No different than Nancy Pelosi's son is on the board in a microchip manufacturer in Taiwan.
But it's not a sign.
He don't know nothing about, why is he in Taiwan being on the board of a microchip processing company? Well, how did that happen?
Contracts.
But contracts that are orchestrated from the United States government that can't be in the parent's name, so it's got to go into their children's name. Mitt Romney's son is on the head of the board, one of the board members in Ukraine also. All these top-end senators, their kids are getting kickbacks, and the money goes back to them. That's why there's a saying that Hunter Biden says, yeah, man, I got to make sure 10% goes back to the big guy. That's literally what's said.
Who is that guy?
Who is Hunter Biden's big guy? Thank you. The president. I got to give him a kickback for the deal he gave me in the first place. Anyway. So, where are we at? Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 12, verse 10 through 13, and then 16.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Listen, iron will eventually rust. If you keep it outside, it's going to rust eventually. He's saying just as eventual as iron's going to rust, your enemy's going to show his wickedness. He's going to show his true colors over time.
Why he is your enemy.
And why he's not to be trusted. Read on.
Though he humble himself and go crouching.
Just because he smiles and he's polite and he shows the initial respect of a person that you think has your best interest
just because
at
he
heart.
played the saxophone for you on late night television.
Yes, on Arsenio Act. Listen, every black person said, this is my president. All you had to do is kiss the little black babies and play the saxophone. And Bill Clinton was good. He won. That man was okay. When he was on Arsenio Hall, he's like, okay, he won the black vote. It was over. Every black man that watched that show said, I'm getting that guy. Forget Bush. This guy plays the sax in the Black Show. With the guy with the longest fingers in America.
They poke you in the eye, you look too long.
I'm like, whoa! Anyway, but let's continue, man. Even though he goes crouching, it doesn't mean his intentions are to stay in the crouching position. Read on.
Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass.
So what he's saying is, he says, if you look at him long enough, you'll get a clear perspective of him. But you got to watch a person long enough to see what a person's really at. And this is for young sisters also. And just because a young man is charming, he's nice, and he's smiling every 5 minutes out, he takes you out every once in a while. You got let this man work for it. Let him get to know you. Let him sit. You need to see him every day before you can determine this is the man for you. This is what courting is about. This is why you're supposed to take your time with your mate. Same thing with women. Just a news flash. Men and women, you can hide the crazy for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
It's really crazy 9 months.
I'm gonna say you can be polite and keep it under control for a few weeks, few months. Then you can start glitching out.
It's nice to see
like this.
It's nice to see you.
I'm sorry.
I like you.
This came out.
I hate you. I love you.
I hate. I'm sorry. Hiccup. It was a hiccup.
Yeah.
The flow through me. Listen, but over time you can't hide the demon. My advice to men and women: don't just jump into something and you don't really know the person.
That's why they say the person may have skeletons in their closet. You know,
A femur came out.
Yeah, bones fall out. Oh, don't go in that closet. Don't go in that closet. Don't go in that.
Bro. You can only hide it for someone.
Don't pick my phone up. Just let it ring. Let it ring. I don't want to answer right now.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
It's this pizza man. Like, what was a pizza man calling at 12 o'clock at night for?
I got pizza. I got pizza for you.
All I'm trying to tell you is for men and women, you better wait.
Yep.
You better sit back and take the time. Because then, when you mess up and you deal with something early, the scriptures say you can't cut me off. There you go. Now you're in the trick bag. And the man like, to death do us part. You're like, you deal with a maniac.
Yeah.
I got my eye on you. Where are you going? You said you love me. What happened? What you say? Who told you? Who talked to you?
Matilda.
Yeah, Matilda. You 5 minutes late. What you did? What was you doing? You said you gonna be here at 3. It's 3:06. What's the problem? Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is 40 years of my life. I got to throw away with this maniac.
Right.
Well, he was nice when we first met.
Yeah.
How long did you take to get to know him? That's free game, y'all, online now.
Yeah.
And youngsters in here, it's free. Please take that one.
Give it some time.
Kinda. Don't just do that 3 hour. You can fake it for 2.5 hours on a date app. You can walk in the park and be a fake, you know what?
Yep. You better do a background check.
You better do background checks out.
You better look at that.
You better get to know that family, look at the fathers. You better know that where she came from and where he came from.
See what their mama say about him.
Kinda.
Their mama tell you, run, girl. You better run. Their mama tell you,
Brother.
he ain't no good.
Well, you'll be able to see if she covering for you.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't
Brother.
understand me. They don't understand me.
Yeah. Nobody understands this guy. How about that?
I'm not on good terms with my parents.
Why?
Yeah.
There's a flag. And
Yeah.
it should pop up. That's red. That's red colored.
Yeah.
This is a no-go.
This nigga has been in 15 rehabs, man. You better watch what you're doing here.
Listen, you better get to know the story. You better listen. Like I said, I'm gonna say this. And then when you're sitting back here and they start telling you these issues, like, man, you got to count the cost. That's what counting the cost is about.
That's phenomenal.
Listen, that's awesome. Listen. Brother Khan. Hound dog. Listen, I'm going to say this. Nobody in life is perfect. Nobody in life is flawless of issues. But when you're choosing a mate, you got to ask yourself, what can you deal with and tolerate? And what is something I can't deal with? Because ultimately, when you're choosing somebody, that's what you got to ask yourself. What can I work with? What are schisms that won't break me that I can tolerate and work through? For men and women.
Yep.
That's the best way to look at it. But with the problem with Israel, we looking for Prince Charming, and Prince some queen. That ain't real either. That don't have no flaws. That ain't realistic either. So you got to find a way to be in the middle, which Israel has a problem with doing. They either want perfection or they'll take any damn thing.
Out of desperation.
Out of desperation. She smiled at me, huh?
Oh.
Damn, that was it?
Tell me why she smiled.
She smiled? Damn. That's all she got to do is smile?
Or he had a job.
Yep.
He worked a job. People don't realize Jeffrey Dahmer had a job too.
There's a lot of killers that have jobs, huh?
Yeah. Jeffrey Dahmer used to go to work with a skull in his briefcase, in his backpack.
Wow.
As a trophy. And he'll have it in the locker room.
Like the damn Predator, right?
Yeah. He had it. Yeah.
He back here and sprayed the skull and made it all shiny and clean out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was a clown on the weekends for the kids.
Yeah.
And his house was a house of horrors. Huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, so listen, man. Listen. And they might not be crazy cannibals. They can just be regular crazy.
Yeah.
There's a killer crazy and there's a regular crazy.
Hey, regular crazy get crazy too.
I know that. That's my point.
They turn into.
It's not a great thing.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So where we at? We're at Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 11.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass.
So, taking good attention to people's daily habits and how they move, they will show themselves over time. Read on.
And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away.
But you got to study a person. That doesn't mean you have to intentionally look to see the good or the bad. Because we're not supposed to sit back here and just look for negative. We just got to be able to sit back and look. And take things in proper perspective and study people every day to learn what their habits are. And over time, you'll start seeing the rust. But you can't focus on what a person says. You got to watch their actions. And the actions show the rust. Read on.
Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place.
And smiles at you. Read on.
Neither let him sit at thy right hand.
So he says, don't be so quick to give credit. Don't be so quick to bring people next to you. This is why we don't give rank like it's ice cream and candy. This is the reason. It takes time to see what a person is really made of. You got to get to know a person long enough to know, okay, when things go bad, how does a person act? You ever see all those IDTV, all those IDTV channel shows about like, yeah, when we first got together, it was magical. And they have all those home videos and they're eating cake and they're smiling. And then all of a sudden, it just takes a guy, lost his job, and he turns to a damn psychopath.
I watch it every day.
And like, everything was great until he got injured at the job.
He was a good poker player.
Then he started drinking. He started sitting back here and hitting on me. And then he wouldn't let me go anywhere. He was like, what the hell's going on with this guy? He didn't show any psycho before this, man?
Because things were going his way.
That's the point. But time reveals where people are at when they don't get what they want. When they experience loss, how does a person carry themselves? When they're disappointed, how do they act? When they have expectations that aren't met, how does a person act?
Well, you tell them no.
Or you tell them no. This is how you determine where a person is at in their spirit, and if you can deal with a person down the line. But because we're so thirsty, we take whatever comes to us because we're thirsty. Men was, I don't know why all men are bad. No, you just make bad choices. How about that? And you're so thirsty, you don't got enough patience to wait to sit back and see who's right for you. This is what it is. He's telling you got to wait. And if you wait, you'll start seeing the rust. Then you got to ask yourself, is the rust manageable? Can I deal with this rust? If not, get the hell out of there. But you can't commit your body and your mind to somebody before you sit back here and see if this rust is worth a damn or not.
Because rust could be on the surface. It could be surface level. That could be initially scratched off and cleaned up. Or you got rust that penetrate and compromise the strength of the metal itself. Meaning somebody could be completely corroded. But you wouldn't really know until you give it time.
Huh? I don't know if this is true or not. Can you buff out rust on the top and it still be messed up on the inside?
Well, no. If it's messed up on the inside, you no matter what you do on top,
you can't get it out.
It's already the strength of the metal is already compromised.
Okay. Well, listen. What people will do is they'll just put a jacket over that rust.
Yeah, bro.
They'll put a coat over the rust and you can't see it until it's too late.
Yep.
Anyway, that's just something the Most High is telling us about people, relationships, the nations, our enemies, people we don't know if it's enemy or not. He's telling us how to look at people and not to be so hasty to trust how people are going to operate. And this is how we should have thought and rolled as Ptolemy was coming into the gates of Jerusalem. We should have been conscious of the fact that I can't trust anybody because I don't know what this person is. This isn't Alexander. He was rolling with Alexander, but this isn't Alexander. So let me make sure we're on high alert at all times. Keep the gates closed at all times.
Yeah.
Or if you see a large army coming in, close the gates.
Let 2 in at a time.
2 in at a time. Is that?
You got 3 categories of rust.
Okay.
You got
This
surface.
is a rust man, a rust breakdown. Right?
Yeah.
You got surface
It's
rust.
the rust removal class.
Yeah. I don't know. You got
A rust identification class.
Yeah.
You got the surface rust, which is reddish brown,
Okay.
which is just discolored on the surface. That can be easily buffed out. But the difference is it's something like pitting corrosion or crevice corrosion is when it sinks deep into the metal. Pitting corrosion is when it gradually deepens and weakens the material from the inside. Crevice corrosion is in confined spaces of the metal parts that you can't get to, and it's trapped inside. So surface rust is something that can be easily preventable. It takes maintenance. But pitting corrosion and crevice corrosion is like level 2 and level 3.
So it's letting you know even about people. There's certain things that people can make adjustments to that are manageable issues. Then you got other issues it takes decades to fix. And that's the truth also. There's certain things in people. When we deal with brothers and we deal with sisters, there's certain cosmetic things you can fix with a person. Certain mechanical things you can help change them. Then you got certain things innate in somebody that it takes a person has to fall. Has to completely fall on their face before they're ready to change. Then you got to ask yourself, am I going to sit back here and lose 15 years of my life to determine if this person wants to change their life or not? That's really what marriage is. Don't want to sit back here and choose a woman that has never served a man ever and hope that through counsel after counsel after counsel, and maybe in year 10 she'll serve? That's a real damn question. Did her mama ever serve a man? Does she even have the basic idea of what that means? Or does a woman has she ever learned how to put herself last? Because you can sit back and say she never served a man, but does she understand what being selfless is? To some women, they're not even good. They're not good mother material. Why would I choose a woman that will be a bad mother and struggle with parenting for X amount of years? Now I gotta hope she figures it out by the second kid. That's a real thing. Or you'll have a man who's never been responsible in his life, and you just hope that by the time this kid gets of age, he'll be responsible. These are the relationships we be choosing. I hope if we counsel long enough, I can change her. Or I just got to send them to the brothers so the brothers can work on her. I guess. We'll try.
She comes to the gathering and it won't work out.
Or listen, they can come to all the damn gatherings and all the classes don't guarantee that they're going to change. And this is what you have to measure in hopes that your daughter picks a good man. Does the man that she likes, is he equipped to handle pressure and responsibility?
That's a real question.
Then I got another one for you. Do you push your daughter to an Israelite man who's not responsible, who's lazy, but knows about scriptures? Or you find a man that's in the world and he's honorable and respectful and hardworking, and he'll take care of his daughter, he'll take care of his wife, and be a good family man. But he'll be faded up. Which one do you choose? Which one do you push her towards? The Israelite that you know is selfish and 15 years away from maturity, but he knows his Hebrew name and can salute? Is that the answer? I'll leave that up to y'all. I know what answer I'm going to choose, but y'all got to sit back and think about that. Just because they say Yahweh by Hashem Yahshua Barakatah don't mean they're ready to be a husband. And don't mean they're ready to be a good wife. But he's trying to sit back and teach us how to look for rust and properly project down the line what's a good move for you or your family. Anyway. So, did we finish verse 13 yet? No. Let's read verse 12. Read verse 12.
Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 12. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith.
And the Jews are pricked by the time Ptolemy goes in and takes over the damn city. Because they let the damn doors in. You don't think they was upset and pricked and kicking themselves? You don't think that the Incas and the Mayans were kicking themselves when they let Hernando Cortez, one of these guys, I think it was Hernando Cortez, go up to the king and then stick his gun to him and say, "Listen, man, give up your empire, or I'm gonna kill your king." We will give up the empire. And they feel like suckers because they let them go all the way in, and it was overly kind to people that have not been proven. This has been going on since the beginning of history. But this is the first time it happened. And we didn't take heed to it because it happened again with Antiochus Epiphanes. So, continue with verse 13.
Verse 13. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent?
You ever see those guys in India? And they sit back here and they're moving their head and the damn snake is following his head and he's doing this dumb stuff with the little whistles and flutes and stuff. You're gonna sit back here and say, "Man, I really feel bad for that snake charmer. When this damn poisonous snake gets him and he's done, huh? Like this is the life you chose, sucker. You made a bad decision, huh?
The snake didn't like that.
Maybe snake charming wasn't a good decision. Maybe that was a bad choice.
Yeah, they're mourning the death right now of what they call the South African Steve Irwin. There's a white man who is allergic to snakes. Just died because he was playing with the second most deadliest snake, and it bit him on the finger, and then he went into a coma immediately. yeah. I don't even think he was able to scream. I think his body shut down immediately. He went straight to coma. He's about 43 years old. Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to correct you anything. I thought he had died from stabbing up.
No, that's a different
person. That was Steve Irwin. He said South African Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin died swimming with the stingrays, and the barb penetrated his heart.
Yeah.
And he was alive until they pulled it out.
So there's another Steve Irwin.
They called him the South African Steve Irwin, who was another, adventurous danger man, playing with crocodiles and snakes and deadly animals. But he was allergic to snakes bites. And then he got bit on the finger playing with some type of deadly taipan or something, whatever he was playing with. And it bit him on the finger, and he went into an immediate coma. and his organs shut down, and he died right there. He died within hours. And his wife was just saying, thank you for all the prayers and thank you for the morning. He was a good man. But how are you allergic to snake bites, but you playing with him? And they called him the South African Steve Irwin. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that recently just died within a month or two ago, and they're still mourning his death. But the scriptures say, who gonna pity a snake charmer? You brought that upon yourself. It's like, how can somebody feel sorry for you or feel pain for your condition and your situation when you've been warned and told that lifestyle is no good for you? Those choices are no good for you. So now you received a death blow, a fatal blow by endangering yourselves for no reason. Who's gonna pity a person that does that?
Yep.
You can't pity anybody that's been forewarned 1,000 times. Hey, I wouldn't do that if I was you, or that's not a good idea, or why would you put yourself in that condition? And they keep doing it, and it's only a matter of time when they fall. And when they fall, it's damn near justified. Their fall is justified.
Yeah.
Because they ignored reproof.
The warning signs.
They ignored correction. That's when people say, you made your bed, lay in it. This is what you created. You created this monster. You created this situation. So now you got to deal with it. But our people, obviously the verse is there because our people don't get that.
Luckily, shame on. Listen, for me, one shame on you. Right here, we didn't know no better.
Yeah.
By the time we got to Antiochus, we were just rolling really naive and foolish. That second time when they fought us on the Sabbath day, shame on us.
Yep.
Because there was enough history to remind us not to do this. Ptolemy already did it.
Yep.
So it was in the Greeks' bag to play this dirty pool. This first one we didn't know no better. And the Most High sat back here, and you're going to read, he had mercy on us because we didn't know no better in this situation. Okay? So, where are we at?
Verse 13.
Okay, read that.
Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts?
Jump to verse 16.
Verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips.
So when a person, this is how you know to at least be on alert. When a person is overly complimentary, overly nice, overly bigging you up. Why are you overhyping me up, bro? Stop. There's no need to overhype anybody up. Maintain respect. Be polite. Be respectful. And that's it. We ain't got to sit back here and kiss nobody's butt. Read on. But when they're doing that, that's a red flag. Read on.
But in his heart he imagineth how to overthrow thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes.
This is why Darius always says about devil's tears. Just because a person cries doesn't mean that they're honorable. Just because a person cries doesn't mean they're justifiable tears. A lot of people cry and they tear up to get what they want to manipulate a situation. Read on.
But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
Kinda. This is the nature of negative, wicked people that we have to be on standby for. So we're just going over these verses just to kind of give us a heads up about how we should have been thinking during Ptolemy and Ptolemy's corrupt way of seizing power. But, you live and you learn, and Israel had to learn the hard way about who this man of perdition was for many years. Let all that go. Let's go back to the Josephus, Nagaha. Let's continue in Josephus. Let's get it slowed down real quick.
Nagaha, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Shemai 1, Ban Yasha'Allah.
Nagaha, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Shemai 1, Ban Yasha'Allah. I must you. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yasha'Allah Brakatah.
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yasha'Allah Brakatah.
All right. Okay.
Page 190.
I don't know about that. It's book 12, chapter 1.
Page 309. 308, sorry.
And we're at Ne Agathar Chides. I don't know what that number is. You know what that
Line 5.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, line 5.
So, book 12, chapter 1. Let me
Yeah.
go back. Let me type it back in up top real quick. Josephus. Book 12, 1 point. I think it was 7.5. Let's do 1. Let's do
7.
1.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at? Let's keep going, sir.
All right. Book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1, line 5. Nay, Agatharchides, a Snitus, who wrote the acts of Alexander's successors, reproaches us with superstition, as if we, by it, had lost our liberty, where he says thus.
So first of all, knowing that we went over against Apion, now we can understand why he puts this little information in there.
What was it saying?
We're about to go into it. But what he's saying is, from the Greek thought, from the Greek perspective, it made no sense at all for the Hebrew people not to fight when Ptolemy came into the city and told them he wanted to come sacrifice at the altar. This Greek historian was like, they must have wanted to be slaves.
Wow.
They must have wanted to be captives because they can't consider, in Esau's mind, they can't consider spiritual selfless thought. The idea of a day set apart for the Most High and to keep it holy and to keep it spiritual is nonsense in the white man's, just in his DNA. And this is what he's saying, this well-known writer of the time, Agathar of was that?
Chides?
Of Sinides or Chides, whatever the case is. He's sitting back here, and he said he was a writer of the acts of Alexander's successors. Continue.
Reproaches us with his superstition, as if we, by it, had lost our liberty.
We lost our liberty because of our foolish superstitions. They can't look at having any spiritual stances or any spiritual
Regards.
regard or just I'm trying to find the word where you stand up for yourself and you have integrity. Having spiritual integrity is foolishness to them. Now we read in 1 Corinthians all the time about how serving the Most High in our law was foolishness to them, but they call it superstition. The idea of they gave up their sovereignty over a superstition was foolishness to them. Read on.
Reproaches us with superstition, as if we, by it, had lost our liberty, where he says thus, there was a nation called the nation of the Jews, who inhabit a city strong and great, named Jerusalem. These men took no care, but let it come into the hands of Ptolemy.
Once again, they took no care. They were just idiot monkeys that let the white man come in and take them over. They didn't at one time say, hey man, Ptolemy operated in treachery. Ptolemy operated with lies and deceit. And he took advantage of the Jews' spiritual principles. He didn't spin it that way. He just said their superstition was the undoing of them. You see how their thinking is? They don't understand spiritual premises, which is why their entire basis of their beliefs had to be philosophical. Because they had no idea to look at things like the things I do, the Most High is conscious of my spiritual decisions, and my life is guided by me making selfless moves that the Lord approves of. That concept is foreign to them. In their eyes, it's about getting everything you can out of life, experiencing every sensation, and finding joy in whatever physical sensation you obtain in your life, and that's happiness. That's the meaning of life. The idea of living your life for one another, putting your will last, showing love and consideration and being selfless for the body is the meaning of life. That's foolishness. Not giving into your impulses and your feelings and your emotions Why not do that? That's what life is for. That's why you have emotions, is to feed them. That's the Greek thought.
Wow. That's true.
And this is the disconnect between the Greek thought and the spiritual thought, and why they dismissed our beliefs as if they're superstition. Because they're not spiritually minded people in the first place. Read on.
These men took no care, but let it come into the hands of Ptolemy, as not willing to take arms, and thereby they submitted to be under a hard master.
Ptolemy was a hard dude, and he was merciless on them. But pretty much the way the writing is being explained is they put that on themselves. They're serving a hard master because they were foolish enough not to fight. Read on.
They wanted to be slaves.
Mm-hmm.
By reason of their unseasonable superstition. This is what Agatharchides relates of our nation.
And once again, he's trying to say this is how the Greeks look at us, as we're the superstitious monkeys that don't have any common sense, that will sit back here and put our people in danger over a silly superstition that's unproven. But he's totally discounting the Most High. This writer is totally discounting the idea that the Most High has power over a situation. And that power in your life is totally dictated about what you do and what you don't do. This is what he's saying in this. So,
Mike has his hand up.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
have a
see.
question, sir. So during this time in Jerusalem, Israel they knew that the Most High was not with them. Is that why they were fighting? Because of all the atrocities and all the wickedness? Because, we were the great nations. Why would they not fight? It's because they knew that the Lord was not going to be with them anyway?
No, they just did. It was a Sabbath day. They didn't want to offend the Most High.
Okay.
But they call that a superstition. Because they're like, do what you gotta do on this special day. This day is no different than any other damn day. So do what you gotta do. It's the idea to live your life anyway. If this is a day you gotta go to war, you gotta go to war. But it's totally removing the Most High as a power that has that level of control over their lives. Because they have idols they serve, and they don't have that kind of control over their lives. So, that is Greek thought. And Greek thought is completely opposite of spiritual thought. This is why, as we're going to read on in this chapter, the Hebrews had, we'll go into it. I won't even spoil it out. Let's keep going.
Line 7. This is what Agatharchides relates to our nation. But when Ptolemy had taken a great many captives, both from the mountainous parts of Judea and from the places about Jerusalem and Samaria.
So listen, what's crazy is he started taking the Jews. Once he had Jerusalem conquered, he took Jews from there, from other mountainous regions in Judah, and he even went to Mount Gerizim, where those sellout Jews were.
Yep.
They thought they could escape the heat. They didn't escape the heat. He even took Samaritans there too. So listen, that was when keeping it real went wrong. When all that faking ended up not being cool.
Yep. You still a
Remember, the
slave.
Samaritans were kept saying, "Well, we're Jews." They want when it was convenient, they wanted to pull the Jew card.
Yep.
But when it's inconvenient, they said, "No, we're not Jews." So they pulled the convenient Jew card at this time, and then Ptolemy came here and says, "We're coming to get y'all."
No.
I ain't a Jew. I'm a Samaritan.
I'm
Too
not
late.
Hebrew.
You coming with us? So the Samaritans were coming down. The Jews were coming down. And listen, that was when keeping it real went wrong. When I was claiming Jew when I really wasn't. Now I got to go to slavery and hard bondage in Egypt.
Even though I had a fake altar and a fake priesthood in the mountains, you still got taken you still got taken as a slave.
Like
as a
because
captive.
you were a Jew.
Yeah.
You claim to be a Jew, right?
False
Didn't you
claim.
say you a Jew? Yeah. But you gotta understand. It really ain't like that. No, you coming.
Yep.
And all those sellout Jews that was running from their judgment in Judah, in Jerusalem, they were in there Samaritan hiding and running, and they got caught slipping too. So Most High took all of us down there.
Because they wanted to be friends with the Greeks.
Yep. Or they just didn't want to serve the Most High.
Yep.
There's a new regime coming in. And everybody was what was happening is everybody was posturing to fit in, to get mercy and special benefits. Remember when Alexander came in, the Samaritans were kissing his butt, trying to get extra help. We'll send you 7,000 soldiers. We want you on our side. Can you authorize us to build this temple? They were sitting back here just kissing his butt to get favors. So now you got Ptolemy here. He took out Jerusalem in a snap. He's coming up there to these mountainous regions and snatching up the Jews there. Went to Mount Gerizim, sent the Jews and Samaritans from there. Now they're going to go to Egypt for hard bondage. You don't even read about this in history. This is another slavery period of time. Of us getting captured again and sent to Egypt for slavery purposes.
Now my question is this, because I've always read this. It says that they sold a boy for the girl.
That's later on in Joel. That's later on, because you know why it's a different time, because it was the Grecians and the Palestinians. The Palestinians were part of that. Ishmael was part of that. Ishmael and the Greeks coming together. That was later on during slave trade times. That's how you know the difference. Here, you got Ptolemy coming up here and taking the Jew and the fake Jew and the running Jew. If your first letter is Jew, your ass is coming to Egypt. Right? We taking you. Right?
It's Julian. I'm not a Jew.
Sorry, sir. It sounded like Jew. So they bringing everybody with the J letters out. You're out of here. Right? So let's read that part from again. But when Ptolemy had taken many captives.
Okay. But when Ptolemy had taken a great many captives, both from the mountainous parts of Judea and from the places about Jerusalem and Samaria.
Slavery, bro. Read on.
And the places near Mount Gerizim, he led them all into Egypt.
Even all those fake priests, those fake leaders, those fake men, those men that was running from the lessons. He had it for all of them, man. So let's continue.
And settled them there.
So he just said, man, you're gonna be in Greece, and you're gonna have no laws. I mean, not no laws, but no rules or no rights. Okay. Now, if you can read in the bottom portion.
Excerpt.
Yep.
Subparagraph 8.
Matter of fact, not yet. Let's keep going. We don't need that yet.
Line 8. And as he knew that the people of Jerusalem were most faithful in the observation of oaths and covenants.
So this is what he's saying is, I noticed Esau being that cunning hunter and that cunning observer of people. You ever see those like National Geographic shows up? Oh, yeah. How studious they are in learning about this animal and that animal, or you'll sit back and see not anthropologists, but you'll see different historians break down this people's and that people's.
They go live
and
with the
their
Native
culture.
Americans. They go live with the natives in Mexico.
And they
become a part of the tribe.
And they study their way of looking at things, and they give themselves to their cultures. Mm-hmm. He's like, in my studies of the Jew, they're about oaths and covenants, and they're really heavy into keeping those. So when I snatch them, they'll be obedient to me when they're my slaves.
This
is his thinking.
Dream.
He's thinking.
I got a good slave.
I get a bunch of Uncle Ruckuses. I can get a lot done.
I made an oath to master.
Who was that guy? Who was that guy in Django? Who was Samuel L. Jackson's role? What was that guy's name?
What was it? I don't know his name.
I don't remember his
name. He was Stephen. Man, he was great at it. His name was Stephen at it. Remember when he walked with a humpback until all the white folks was dead? Yeah. Then he stood up straight. And now I ain't got to fake it no more. I'm going to be who I am. I was like, damn, great acting. Point is, he said, Ptolemy's like, these guys have a proclivity to serve and maintain their honor and their oaths. I can use that. But he's using this observation of people based on how we sat back and served Alexander the Great when he left Jerusalem. This is what's happening. So continue.
I'm read this too.
What you got?
It says, but there is no doubt that one of the immediate consequences of the annexation of Palestine by Ptolemy was a greatly increased immigration of Jews and doubtless of Palestinians generally to Egypt. Mm-hmm. However, the immigration was unquestionably vigorously encouraged and stimulated by the King Ptolemy. The new city needed inhabitants, and the Egyptians were as yet looked at askance by the Macedonian rulers.
Askance?
Askance. He says the Macedonians looked at the Egyptians as askance. So when you look that up, the definition of askance is ASKANCE. It says the Macedonians looked at the Egyptians as askance. The word askance means sideways or towards the corner of the eye, meaning you can't trust Egyptians. So Ptolemy said, "Man, I can't trust these damn Egyptians. They don't keep their word. They liars. They'll say one thing and do another. They hypocrites. So I got to go get these Jews.
They're loyal.
These men are loyal.
That makes sense.
These men are men of their word.
Wow.
So I got to go get these Jews because I know if they say something, they're going to do it. But these damn Egyptians, I can't trust them.
They're not sincere.
They're two-faced. They're two-faced Jews. So that's why I said I got to go get them Jews and bring them back because they're a better quality people. They have better integrity. They have better morals. They have a higher moral standard. So that was part of the motivation to go snatch them Jews up. They're better people, you know. So they can be trusted, and it matches what we read right now in Josephus. God,
Bro, so they were untrustworthy people. He wanted to sit back and you know what he wanted to do? He's trying to clean up his city
yeah,
and make it a more honorable quality city.
yep,
So let me take these people that are honorable, that are men of their word, and just use this to my advantage. And people I can trust. I can't trust these suckers.
nope.
There you go. So where are we at?
Line 8. And as he knew that the people of Jerusalem were most faithful in the observation of oaths and covenants, and this formed the answer they made to Alexander.
And this from the answer they made to Alexander. So obviously Ptolemy was there when they showed honor with the white and the purple on. Everybody was in white. Priests were in purple. They all saluted him together. They were respectful and honorable. He said, I can use that. I'm going to use their spirituality against them to get them so I can get their honorable way of living to benefit me. Read on.
When he sent an embassage to them after he had beaten Darius in battle.
So he's also saying he remembers when Alexander requested food and supplies, and they said, no, we can't do that. If we do it, we made an oath to Darius not to break it. And they stood tall on that. He said, what it means is they respected the fact that they stood tall on their oaths.
Yep.
Read on.
So he distributed many of them into garrisons, and at Alexandria.
So he says because. So no wait. What he's saying is because he knew they were men of their word, he took a lot of these Israelites and put them into his garrisons in Egypt. He made them what? Soldiers. He said, I got to put these guys and give them. I can trust these men in war because I saw them in war with us when we went to Gaugamela. Because don't forget, there was Israelites that left and went with Alexander and fought with Alexander in Gaugamela when they overthrew Darius III. He said, I see how these guys fight. They're men of honor. I can use these guys. What's that?
We continued that same thought process later on in Vietnam, many wars.
World War II.
Yeah.
A lot of our people said glory during the Civil War. We finally got a chance to fight. Listen, our war exploits were known and respected, and we were valiant men. So I can sit back here, take these men and put them in my garrison and make them soldiers, but they're still slaves, but they're soldiers in my army. Okay, read on.
After he had beaten Darius in battle, so he distributed many of them into garrisons, and at Alexandria gave them equal privileges of citizens with the Macedonians themselves.
Now stop. What he's saying is, I was a little early with that garrison statement. What he's saying is Alexander, when he saw their honor and loyalty, put them in his army. And Alexander sat back here after the war was done and the Jews were valiant defending Alexander. He allowed the Jews to go back to Egypt and become citizens and equal with the Greek citizens. What it's saying is we were that great of fighters and earned that much respect. Where he says you can be a soldier in our army when you get back to Egypt, and you can be a sergeant or a lieutenant in our army, and you'll get a citizenship there. So the Jews that Ptolemy's bringing in, they were slaves, but you already had free Israelites in Egypt already. You had free Jews who were Greek citizens that Alexander pardoned or allowed to be citizens. But now you're here, and Ptolemy's like, I know what kind of army guys that we know are Jews. Let me get some more guys in my army. The question will be this: why is he on this hunt for more military?
Question.
To make a move.
He's constantly making moves. He's constantly in war. Remember in the beginning part of this chapter, he's like, the people had to suffer for these wars that were happening in the battle of the Diadochi, or the wars of the Diadochi, the wars of secession. These other people were getting pulled into conflicts and being thrown into the garrisons and made soldiers in these armies. This is a part of the consequences of these back and forth battles.
But that root came from the 4 to 5 generals separating, becoming adversaries,
and pulling in the native peoples as a consequence of war. So now let's continue.
And at Alexandria gave them equal privileges of citizens with the Macedonians themselves, and required of them to take their oaths that they would keep their fidelity to the posterity of those who committed these places to their care.
Hold that again. I got to go back to the top where it says, and at Alexandria.
Okay.
Gave them equal privileges.
Okay. And at Alexandria gave them equal privileges of citizens with the Macedonians themselves.
Now it was Alexander did that, but continue.
And required of them to take their oaths that they would keep their fidelity to the posterity of those who committed these places to their care. Nay, there were not a few other Jews who, of their own accord, went into Egypt, as invited by the goodness of the soil and by the liberality of Ptolemy.
So what he's saying is a lot of Jews before this conquering of the area were already migrating to Egypt. This is why there is like a rich and then there's a poor servant. There was servant Hebrews that are happening now by Ptolemy, but they were rich Hebrews that were affluent. And that's where Philo comes into play. Philo was rich and his father was rich, and they had a lot of money at that time, and they were Egyptian citizens living in Alexandria. So you're seeing now a rich and a poor dynamic in Egypt, and they're all Hebrews, and they're being used in different offices to elevate the country of Egypt. He's letting you know, even though the Jews and the Greeks were the ones in Egypt, the Egyptians weren't the ones running nothing in there. The ones that were being used is us, and the ones in power were the Greeks. And the Jews were allowed to live in Alexandria and operate. Pretty much that was their own city. As long as they stayed in order, Alexandria is where the Jews were at. Where that quote-unquote library was at, what we're about to read into in chapter 2, it was in Alexandria. So, let's continue.
Line 10. However, there were disorders among their posterity with relation to the Samaritans.
So he says there was disorders though. Once they got these Jews over here into Alexandria, there were disorders amongst the Jews and the Samaritans living in this same area. There was always beef between us who are Israelites and these non-Israelites who claim to be Israelites. There was always beef because they did things different. One kept things to the book, and these other non-Israelites kept deviating from the original way of temple worship. Read on.
With relation to the Samaritans, on account of their resolution to preserve that conduct of life, which was delivered to them by their forefathers, and they thereupon contended one with another.
Everybody was fighting to keep their way of doing things. We weren't going to submit our beliefs because it was our beliefs. And the Samaritans weren't going to sit back and give up their bastard beliefs. So that conflict kept going because it was all in the same city fighting for position. Read on.
While those of Jerusalem said that their temple was holy and resolved to send their sacrifices thither. But the Samaritans were resolved that they should be sent to Mount Gerizim.
So this was before, years later, a mock temple was set up in Alexandria. That was literally the exact replica of the Jerusalem temple. But before that happened, one group, the Jews, were sending our tithes and our offerings up to Jerusalem, and these Gerizimites, these Samaritans, were sending it to Mount Gerizim, and there was this more conflict at the time. Okay, so let's get to chapter 2. I don't want to sit back here, and I want to kind of maybe just go into chapter 2, verse 1, paragraph 1. We might go to paragraph 2, but I don't want to do too much because there's a lot of information today. I don't want to burn nobody out. So, Josephus, book 12, chapter 2. Let's read that. Paragraph 1.
Do I read the header or no?
Nah, we ain't got to.
Paragraph 1, chapter 2. Line 11. When Alexander had reigned 12 years, and after him Ptolemy Soter 40 years.
So Ptolemy had a reign for 40 years. He had a great run. And so in the Ptolemies, as we saw in the maps, had control over the entire jurisdiction of at least South Syria and Egypt. He took a chunk of it from Seleucus. Read on.
Philadelphus then took the kingdom of Egypt.
So now, listen, before we go any further, let's do this. Let's go to Daniel chapter 11, verse 1 through 5. Daniel's 11, verse 1 through 5. Yeah, that won't be the truth, yes.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 1.
Let me get there real quick. Read that, sir.
Daniel 11, chapter 1. Chapter 11, verse 1. Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede.
So obviously, this is still during the Persian Mede Empire that Daniel was writing this. And he is obviously in a vassal area where Darius the Mede was in control of this area. So Darius the Mede was the vassal of the territory. It wasn't necessarily talking about King Darius over the region. Read on.
Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood to confirm and to strengthen him.
So Daniel's job was to sit back and advise and support this vassal to King Cyrus. Read on.
And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
The 4th king of Persia was Xerxes. Okay? The 4th king was Xerxes. Read on.
And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of
And
Greece.
King Xerxes was the one who you saw in 300, who used his resources and his riches to go as far as Greece to start antagonizing Greece and to start that war with the Greek Empire, which stirred the Greeks up to eventually sit back and retaliate years later and defeat them. But it started with Xerxes. Okay? You had Cyrus. You had Cambyses II and his job. He took over Egypt. Then you had it was King Darius. Then it was King Xerxes. King Darius was the one who gave us our sovereignty back and allowed us to come back to Jerusalem. After King Darius, then it was Xerxes. Then it was King Artaxerxes who came into power, and he was the one who let us. Make sure we got this back. Cyrus is the one who allowed us to come back to the country. Cambyses and build our temple. Cambyses said he put the kibosh on the building of the temple and said no more building of the temple. Then Darius sat back here and let us finalize the building of the temple.
That's when Ezra was sent up.
Yep. And then you had Xerxes is the one who was the king during the time of who? Esther. And Xerxes was the one who also at the same time was going to war with the Greeks. Because remember Haman was an agent of the Greeks who was trying to take us over. But that was at the same time Xerxes was trying to go to war with the Greeks. Then you had Artaxerxes was the 5th king, and he was the one that allowed us to finish our walls up.
With Nehemiah.
Yes. That was the succession of the Persian Median kings. But the fourth was Xerxes, and he was the richest of them all. And he's the one that initiated the fighting with the Greeks, that initiated them to retaliate over time and defeat the Persian Median Empire. So let's continue, verse 3.
Verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will.
This is talking about Alexander. Read on.
And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven.
You keep hearing the same type of story being explained. Four wings of a fowl, four winds, same concept. These four generals. So after he dies, it's split up with the four generals. It was initially five, worked down to four. Read on.
And not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion.
It got more specific. This one was the first one that said it wasn't a direct blood lineage that he gave his kingdom down. It wasn't of his posterity. Okay, because he didn't have any blood heirs. It was stated that one of his young sons was killed in Greece. But his posterity didn't get the kingdom. His generals did. Read on.
Nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others besides those.
Exactly. So the kingdom was split up into his generals' hands. Now let's continue in verse 5.
Verse 5. And the king of the south shall be strong.
The king of the south is talking about Ptolemy. Okay, now we're sitting back here and beginning to go into Daniel 11. The king of the south is talking about the Ptolemy's empire. And he says they're going to be strong. Read on.
And one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion.
Ptolemy's kingdom was a great dominion. Okay, the Ptolemies were great. And he says, in one of his princes, he shall be strong above him and have dominion. The next one that was strong after Ptolemy 1 was talking about Ptolemy Philadelphus. So chapter 11, verse 5 is talking about Ptolemy Philadelphia is coming into power as the next king of the south. Once again, when you sit back and read through Daniel 11, it is constantly talking about the king of the south versus the king of the north. King of the south versus the king of the north. The king of the south is the Ptolemaic Empire. The king of the north is the Seleucid dynasty. And you're going to keep reading there, and then we're going to hit a part where it starts to talk about that wicked root, Antiochus Epiphanes. But we'll get into that later. I'm not sure if we're going to go through this entire thing. But this Daniel 11 from 5 on down deals with the literal Syrian wars. And it's not Syrian people, it's the region of Syria and the wars that happened between the Seleucid dynasty and the Ptolemaic dynasty for control of that Syrian region, this area in the orange. Daniel 11 is about the fighting for that territory in the Levant. Okay? Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just going to make it real quick. So from Alexander dying, reigning 12 years, all the killing he did. His generals had great armies, all the killing he did. And you said their sons, all this, it seemed like the Most High was like purging the earth and using the Greeks. Like
Not necessarily Persian. He was just giving the Greeks their opportunity to reign.
Say purge, right? Purge.
Yeah. But it's really not necessarily purging. He just allowed them to reign. And they did the same thing on the globe that they were doing in Greece. They were killing each other in Greece. What do you think was happening in the Middle Ages? Us and the French were killing the English. English were killing the Spain. The Germans were killing the damn Hungarians. The Russians were going to war with the French. The whole damn Middle Ages was about that. Leading up to the 1800s. There was numerous battles, even white on white crime, huh?
Franco-Prussian War.
White on white fighting activities. Then you had the damn what do you call it, a war? The people the Turks, the Ottoman Turks. They were Muslim, but they were white.
The Holy War.
But they were white. And they were fighting other Edomites. They were fighting us too. What I'm saying is all Europe was a bunch of these battles. The inception of Europe is bloody. All the wars between the Scots and the English, The Spanish and Spain and Germany. I mean, Spain and France.
The Irish and the English.
Kinda. That's my point. It was nothing but wars between the two. So reading about the Greeks fighting the Greeks is just, hey, this is how Esau rolls. We're here now. And the funny thing is, the king of the north and the king of the south talked about in Daniel's 11, it jumps, or it gives you the history of the Greek kings of the south and the Greek kings of the north fighting each other. And at the very last part of Daniel's 11, talks about the war between the king of the south and north this day. The king of the north and south this day is America versus who?
Russia.
Russia. It's the same thing. It ties it all together. There's been wars between Esau in one region to Esau versus the next region. Listen, this whole time since 1945 was America versus Russia. During Cold War, that's what the Cold War was about. Why do you think that South Korea was split right in the middle? Because the War of Korea was a stalemate.
Yeah.
It was the stalemate. So communist Russia won the north. United States won the south. And it's been that way ever since. That was the first war after World War II.
And Putin funds, as matter of fact, you got North Korean troops in Russia fighting with Russia now. Yeah. Just like you got in Seoul, Korea, you got American military bases in Korea right now.
There's like 73. I heard yesterday there's like 73 military bases in South Korea. Why the hell you need that many military bases in one small island?
It's a chessboard. You got to keep somebody
and I'm close to Russia.
Yeah.
I'm strategically close to Russia and China, and I can use this as an outpost to touch China whenever I want to. Because that'd be vexing China when they send all their boats and their ships around Taiwan acting like they're protecting Taiwan. It'd be vexing them. But they do that on purpose. Why do you think they're backing Taiwan? To aggravate China. They know that the China has said it over many years. Taiwan is ours. You ever see Little League World Series? They say Chinese Taipei. That's the Taiwanese. They're Chinese. The only difference between Taiwan and China is that the people that lost to what's the head of I don't want to say Ho Chi Minh. It was who was the head of the Mao Zedong?
Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong. The people who lost to them, the emperor before Mao Zedong took control. When Mao Zedong won, the king and all the subjects that supported him got sent to Taiwan, and they were exiled. That's the history of Taiwan. They're still Chinese. They're just the losers. They didn't get killed. They got sent to Taiwan and exile island. You took the L. But the crazy thing is, Russia backed Mao Zedong. The United States backed Mao Zedong. And they backed the other guy. But then they gave the other guy guns that didn't work. That's the old story. They wanted Mao Zedong to win. But that's more history down the line that's not necessarily to talk about. But all these guys were financed to get in position of power. But that's part of that divide and conquer scheme. But since the 40s, the whole world was split up between United States jurisdiction and Russian jurisdiction. Iran has always been backed by Russia. Always. Syria has been backed by Russia. The Assad family has been connected to Russia for years. Russia and China initially had great relationship. All these connections have been going on for numerous years. Then the relationship got bad with Russia and China. Now it's good again. But the whole world's been split up. Hell, even when you had United States back in Israel, Russia was back in Egypt during the 7-Day War when the Egyptians were fighting Israel for land and power in the region. There's a reason why the United States funded Saddam Hussein with Iraq, so they can sit back and weaken Iran. That Russia was sitting back here and back. Yep.
I don't know if this needs to be asked later, but what's significant? So what's significant about the Assad family leaving Syria?
They're not leaving Syria yet. That's why Russia's coming to back them up.
Already. Oh, okay, gotcha.
And listen, the crazy thing is, the United States has been out there. They don't tell you though. United States has got they're in. Listen, United States has put Syria through all type of sanctions to bankrupt them, and they also got they're occupying the eastern part of Syria where all of their wheat and all of their oil fields are. Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're bankrupting them. They're sitting back here. This is what they're doing. They're occupying eastern Syria, and then they have ISIS and all these terrorist groups outside of the area that that the United States is occupying.
Sorry, who was it? You said they?
They is United States.
Okay, gotcha.
United States has all the natural resources, and they've allowed ISIS and all these Al Qaeda's and all these terrorist groups to operate in front of them and give them space and control and dominance. So now, if Syria wants to get to the United States, they got to get through these military groups that were used and created to create destabilization in the damn region.
And then a lot of those oil companies, for protection, have hired they hired the Wagner Group from Russia to secure their oil fields and protect their oil fields at a fee. And this is why the chief of the Wagner Group that died, that got blown up out the plane, he was so wealthy because not only did he set up patrols around the oil fields, but he asked for a portion of the proceeds of the oil that's produced out of the land.
Well, he's got that, and he was having a parts of diamond mines.
In Africa.
When they were sitting back here and defending and covering certain areas in Africa that were being... Well, but this is the situation. Only thing you hear on TV is that these countries are being attacked by foreign rebel groups. What they don't tell you is who finances these foreign groups. Who's giving these guys guns and rockets and missiles to sit back here and terrorize the governments that are in the city? They're all funded. It's like and they got the lessons and the skills and the ability to create this from the British. The British were doing this in the 1800s. The British started sitting back here and financing Arab extreme groups called the Muslim Brotherhood. Before it was called Al Qaeda and ISIS, it was the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood was in Egypt, causing heck and havoc in Egypt, and in Iran, and in Iraq. And they were using it to split and to splinter the countries in half. And to sit back here and create these coups when it was necessary. So now they're in Syria. There's 2 or 3 different Muslim extremist groups in Syria wearing them down. They've been fighting Syria since 2011. It's 13 years of war. You sit back and say, damn, why are these countries, these cities, falling so quick? Because they have no money, no finances. They can't use their natural resources. Listen, everybody talks about Wagner. They said Obama took all the troops out of Afghanistan. But you know what? They got a couple thousand United States Blackwater soldiers in Syria. Blackwater is the equivalent of Wagner. Who taught the Russians how to play the game? United States did.
You mean Biden?
United States before Biden.
Oh,
Blackwater's been out there. Blackwater's been out there. They don't. It's like a Blackwater is what do you call it? The world
mercenary.
They're mercenaries. So they sit back there. They're in Syria guarding the damn the wheat, taking the wheat. I've seen convoy trucks full of oil. They're going to Iraq and going through back channels from Iraq and getting the oil put on these shipping boats and coming back to the United States. They're stealing all the oil and they're taking all the wheat. But then everything's masked under the idea that these Islamic terrorists are out there fighting and that's their business. They got to deal with it. But they're being financed. Even this group now is being United States backed. Who's giving them the weapons to go here and go to war? Who's giving them the weapons and the training? Who gave Bin Laden the weapons and training when they sat back here as the Mogadishu And they took over Russia in the 80s. Or they beat the Russians in the 80s. That was the United States did that. They trained bin Laden. They've been training all these rebel groups to sit back and use them to overthrow other countries.
Proxy wars.
That's the game. And now they want to say, oh, Assad's a dictator. No, you want their resources. You want to put a puppet leader in there so you can control their oil and their natural resources. And I saw online a few weeks ago that they want to put a pipeline from Qatar and Saudi Arabia to run it through Syria to get it to Europe.
Bypass Russia.
There you go. And Russia ain't letting that happen.
Russia just said they're going to cut off the gas again to Europe.
Well, they never gave it back to them. Russia has a military base in Syria. They're going to sit back and protect their interests. Because if you break Syria, you break the entire region. You got Israel running roughshod over everybody. The only thing keeps them in check is Hezbollah up north in Lebanon, their connection to Syria, and Syria's connection to Iran. And they can run and move weaponry all around that region, and it keeps Israel in check. But they need that highway to run gas pipelines from Saudi Arabia, get it through Syria, get it through Turkey, and now it's a European thing. Just like what Russia's trying to do with China, they're running pipelines from China to Russia to give them the resources they need to keep everything's about power and leverage.
And somebody just blew up one of the main telecommunications underwater power lines, underwater telecommunication lines in Europe.
And that's probably Russia.
Yeah, Russia did that probably out of.
I heard China did it. I heard that the Chinese ship went over it, and then they put their anchor in the water, and they drove off, and the anchor ripped the
fiber optics.
The fiber optics. That's
by mistake. Just like United States didn't blow up Nord Stream, so they couldn't sit back here and get gas funneled from Germany to Russia. That was an oopsie. That wasn't no oopsie. None of this stuff is oopsies. There was reports that there was explosive 7.3 earthquake in California a couple days ago, but there was no aftershock. Nobody knows what's happening. They don't know. They really what they're saying is they made it Russia's or somebody blew something up out in the water. And what they're also saying is radiation levels around California has spiked since that explosion. That doesn't come from regular tectonic plates movements. That comes from, hey, a reminder, you trying to touch us, we can touch you too. That's what it looks like to me.
They just found some drones over New Jersey. That they don't know where the drones came from.
Listen, bro, there's a lot of stuff going on between country to country, but you know what it still boils down to? The king of the north versus the king of the south. And just like that was the war, and the focus of the world was between the Ptolemaic kingdom and the Seleucid kingdom, even to this day, it's about the United States versus Russia. It's always about two oppositional forces fighting for control over the world. Because that's what they were fighting for control over here in the 300s and the 200s and the 100s. It was always about fighting for control over the arena, over the whole state of affairs in the society. Does that make sense? How we're trying to tie it all in? Okay. So read Daniel 11:5 again.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 5. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion.
That's why I said Ptolemy's reign was for 40 years. Okay? He reigned 40 years, and he had a stranglehold over the region. Okay? But after he dies, then his son comes in, and it's Ptolemy Philadelphus. So his dad did the dirty work. Now his son is into reading and books and learning and studying and starting to get a grasp over the educational center of the region. But his dad did the dirty work. He's no different than David. David did all the killing and the putting crap in order. And the stockpiling weapons and stockpiling gold and silver and all the materials needed for the building of the temple. And his son comes and builds the temple and has the life of peace. But he couldn't have had the life of peace without David doing the dirty work. So now we got Ptolemy Philadelphus. He's doing the diplomatic things. You're gonna read about his diplomatic ways, and he wanted to make it about learning and peace, but his daddy was a dog. But that's what it takes to get to that peace. And that's the truth. So, let this go. Let's go back now to Book 12, Chapter 2, Paragraph 1.
Paragraph 1. When Alexander had reigned 12 years, and after him Ptolemy Soter 40 years, Philadelphus then took the kingdom of Egypt and held it 40 years within one.
So he says, so his father went 40, and so did his son. So the Ptolemies, the first couple generations, had great runs in power. Read on.
He procured the law to be interpreted, and set free those that were come from Jerusalem into Egypt, and were in slavery there.
So what he's saying is this. He needed the law, or he wanted the law to be interpreted, not just translated. What Ptolemy Philadelphus did is he opened the door for the scriptures to be shown to the entire world. Now the white man had access to the Bible for the first time ever. And what he did is he got all the books of the region in Egypt, in Tyre, in Babylon, and our major book, and got them all translated. But this one specifically, the Bible wasn't just translated, it was interpreted. You remember we said earlier that spiritual concepts make no sense to the white person? The common white man doesn't understand thinking and operating spiritually and selflessly. So he needed a breakdown for the breakdown. Where we have to sit back here, we learn by falling and being selfish, and you was a selfish, you know what, and the Most High got your butt for being selfish, and yeah, the Spirit stung me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sit back and know when the Spirit be tagging you. But we have it innately in us to have a connection to the Father and have a sensitivity to when we're right and when we're wrong, to a certain degree at least. Esau's like, I don't know what this is. Spiritual what? This is all fooey. This is all foolishness. I be the conscious. If I'm not conscious like this, the Spirit's gonna get me. What?
That's why they call it superstitious.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Exactly.
And that's why I was driving that early. Just the idea of spiritual thinking. The Most High knows I'm not supposed to do this, but I did it. The Spirit got me that way. And He's doing this to get me back right. I got to study more. I'm being into my flesh too much. I got to stop lying. I got to be honest. I got to communicate about what's going on in my life. The Spirit's staying me because I'm not doing it. That type of thinking doesn't make sense. So I not only need the Bible to get translated, I need to then show me what this means. What does this book mean?
Yep.
I don't understand what I don't know what's saying. I don't know what's being said.
Because if you read 2 Ezra chapter 9 verse 30, the Most High is telling us of the benefits of what we receive versus what the world receives. 2 Ezra chapter 9 verse 30.
2 Ezra chapter 9 and verse 30. And thou spakest, saying, Hear me, O Israel, and mark my words, thou seed of Jacob.
Go ahead.
For behold, I sow my law in you.
So the law was not sown or distributed and implanted into no other people on the earth.
Yep.
So the Most High, the angels telling Ezra, listen, the only people that had the law sown into them that could understand spiritual concepts was us. Read on.
And it shall bring fruit in you.
It says, and what the law does, because what the Most High gave us, it produces some fruit. The fruit is righteousness.
Yep.
The fruit is a fear of the Most High. The fruit is being able to have the Most High, the Most High's presence with you when you operate according to the law. You have the Most High's protection.
It's that consciousness that you're working on having with the Heavenly Father that the nation don't have.
They don't have that.
That's where it says, I'm going to cut you off, like John 15, where it says, the Spirit, I'm going to put my Spirit into you.
Yeah.
That's not for them. That consciousness comes into us as a gift from Christ that the nations don't have access to.
They weren't given that. And they weren't sown. The law wasn't sown into them. Read on.
And ye shall be honored in it forever.
It said, and if you be obedient to the law that the Most High sown into the children of Israel, He said, it shall what?
It shall be honored in it forever.
It says, it will be your honor. It is what separates you from other people.
Yep.
It is a certain standard of living that we're allowed to have that excels the standard of living than anybody in the world.
Yep.
And that's what makes us honorable people, is the fruit that's produced by us being obedient to the law.
And that's what Moses said in Deuteronomy 4, verse 5 and 6. When the nation said, well, surely this is a wise and understanding people.
Yeah.
Because how they process things, how they conceptualize things spiritually is so much far superior than how we look at life.
We were in order.
Well, but it's how we think. Our spiritual processing is so much more advanced than Esau's.
Yeah. So what the Most High is saying is, the benefits of the law is still going to exist,
Yep.
whether we want to be obedient or not. Matter of fact, read on.
Verse 31.
32.
But our fathers, which received the law,
They said, our fathers got the law. Go ahead.
kept it not,
But they didn't keep it. Read on.
and observed not thy ordinances.
But they were disobedient. Read on.
And though the fruit of the holy law did not perish,
Stop. Just because we don't follow the law and don't keep it, does that mean the wisdom of the law dies?
No.
So all that means is, okay, you don't want it? Well, the Most High will let another nation take it, interpret it, translate it, and reap the benefits from reading it. Just because we don't want it doesn't mean the wisdom dies
Yep.
and the benefits die. All that means is the other nations will see the benefit in it, and they'll take it, and they'll adopt it, and they'll create a spin-off version of the law called religion,
Christianity.
called Christianity, called Catholicism,
Yep.
which is all a spin-off of the laws that we got.
A bastardized version of it.
And they'll create a whole congregation out of it.
Yep.
And it'll become a world-ruling, world-dominating religion because we didn't want the original law that was given to us and the benefits from it. So all the other nations did was get it and make a spin-off version of it and benefit them.
Yep.
And now they reap the benefits of it. Doesn't mean the wisdom died or the fruit or the benefits of the law died just because we were rebellious or because we didn't want it. Read on.
and though the fruit of thy law did not perish, neither could it,
It said it can't die. Read on.
for it was thine.
It said because it was for us from the beginning. Now it's fallen into the hands of who? The Greeks.
Yep.
Now the Greeks got it, and the Greeks are going to make a spin-off version of it. That first they got to comprehend it.
Yep.
They can't read it.
It don't make no sense to them.
They got to get it translated, and then they're going to understand. Say, man, hey, man, there's some good in here.
What is it? Translate it first,
Yeah.
then interpret it.
Then interpret
Because
it.
they don't make no. Even when I can read it, it don't make no sense.
Right.
What makes this potent? This is gibberish to me.
Yep.
Just the idea and the power of the Most High and how it relates to everything that we do, we couldn't conceptualize.
Not at all. So the most what we're watching is the benefits of the Most High's presence, His laws, His instructions falling into the hands of some Greeks.
Yep. Because we weren't mature enough to embrace our responsibility of mastering this and then teaching it to them anyway.
Yep.
Why is the Most High giving it to them anyway? Because they were supposed to get it. The rest of the world was supposed to get it. We were just supposed to teach it.
We were vessels.
We were supposed to be the vessels that were that middleman to teach them how to live. So now we got to go through all this slavery and this loss and this loss and this loss to sit back and earn our salvation to go do what we were supposed to do from the beginning.
Now it falls into the hand of a white man who has to teach you a broken version of it.
Right.
And then you mad because you say the Bible was written by a white man. But not realizing it was written for you to begin with.
You didn't want it when you
But you didn't want it, so now a white man got to teach it to you. But now you're mad you don't want to read it because it came from the white man's mouth.
This is the white man's book.
You got to read his version, but it was really for you anyway. So just the Most High just bringing it back full circle, it was still for us anyway.
And then once we get it, we still got to embrace it and stop being about the flesh.
Yep.
And if you fight enough, then you have the privilege and honor to teach them how to live the right way again.
Yep.
And everything goes back full circle. That makes sense? All right. So, you got any more? So that was a great verse.
No.
Okay, let's go back to the Josephus. When it said he procured.
The law. He procured the law to be interpreted, and set free those that would come from Jerusalem into Egypt, and were in slavery there.
So we're going to read about the story about how he allowed the ones that were slaves to be free men. because I think I'm gonna shut it down after this beginning part, because what we're gonna read down the line is the story of how it went down. But what's happening is this: before Ptolemy Philadelphus sets up the scenario to get the Jews to translate the Bible from Hebrew into Greek, which is called the Septuagint. All right. His number one advisor and his book curator said, "Hey, man, we're gonna sit back here and have these people translate the Bible and then give us an interpretation. But there are people that are in slavery, bro. They're like, that don't even look right. Can we free these people and then have them sit back here and give us a breakdown of these scriptures? I think it'll be better for us if we free these people that your daddy put in slavery first. And then once you do that, then they'll be willing to do this interpretation, and they'll be willing to do this translation."
That's the benefits of being honorable.
So what he did, he said, "You know what? You're right. I'll go ahead and redeem each one that was a slave and their children." So Ptolemy Philadelphus did us a solid and bought back at the market value the cost per slave and the children that were had from that slavery. I'll buy it back and pay the people that own you. Give them the money so you're free to go back and stay in Egypt or go back to Israel. Once Ptolemy did that, then he sat back and asked the high priest to sit back here and take the scriptures, translate them, and then create a separate book of understanding. We're going to go into that next week. I think we've done enough today. Are any questions? Any other? What's that?
Did you go over this last week? This part?
Not this part. No, I read this part, yes. Just to explain, I read what we're about to read briefly last week, just to show how many books they had in the library and how they got the information initially, then they spend it to make it theirs. But this was from the beginning of it. This was the beginning when they were in the spirit of learning and accumulating. And then once they learned and accumulated, then they just said, we're going to change authors.
That was true.
No, you're good. But are there any questions on that topic? Are there any questions on any other topic? Then we can briefly go over. We have a little time. I just don't want to go into this entirely new phase. And we can say that for next week. Let's make this a part 2. Because we're going to go right in the middle and stop anyway, and that don't make sense. I don't know if there's a halfway hand up or what, man. Okay, we're going to shut it down now. Israel Majim Mupanya, Yerah Shalom.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Other schools get a bunch of chill questions. We don't get questions. We get questions. Okay. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael. And the righteous angels. To watch over. Bless. Heal. Protect. And make strong. The people of Yahshua. Also send unto us. Much knowledge. Much understanding. Much patience. Much faith. Much brotherhood. And much love. Spiritual power. And forgive all of our sins. Yahweh Shai, come quickly. For in thee is our hope. Always. And forever. Amen. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the law.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light to see.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Hahawa'ah. Nothing to know. Shemon. Zayat. La Mashat. Yasharallah.
Yasharallah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
And to sing praises unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh.
For thou Yahweh.
Hast made me glad through thy work.
Hast made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph.
I will triumph.
In the works of thy hands.
In the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
Shall perish.
Shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the works of iniquity
shall be scattered.
shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
Mine eye also shall see.
My desire.
My desire.
On my enemies.
On mine enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire.
My desire.
Of the wicked.
Of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord
shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
There is no unrighteousness in him.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
B'Hashem Yahushai.
B'Hashem Yahushai.
Psalms 133. Shayar.
Shayar.
Hama'ayawa.
Hama'ayawa.
Radawad.
Ladawad.
Hana.
Hana.
Ma. Tawab.
Tawab.
Wama. Na'ayam.
Na'ayam.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Akim.
Akim.
Gam.
Gam.
Yachad.
Yachad.
Hashaman.
Hashaman.
Hatawab.
Hatawab.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hara'ash.
Hara'ash.
Yerad.
Yerad.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hazakwan.
Hazakwan.
Zakwan.
Zakwan.
Aharad.
Aharad.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hayah.
Hayah.
Manawathiwa.
Manawathiwa.
Katal.
Katal.
Karamwan.
Karamwan.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Haroria.
Haroria.
Tazayawan.
Tazayawan.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Sham.
Sham.
Tazawa.
Tazawa.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Habaraka.
Habaraka.
Kayayam.
Kayayam.
Ai.
Ai.
Halwalom.
Halwalom.
B'Hashem Yahushai.
B'Hashem Yahushai. Psalms 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life evermore. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
B'Hashem.
B'Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachnao.
Rachnao.
Rashralia.
Rashralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Support.
Support.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
B'Hashem.
B'Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachnao.
Rachnao.
Rashralia.
Rashralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Support.
Support.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
B'Hashem.
B'Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachnao.
Rachnao.
Rashralia.
Rashralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Support. Yahweh. B'Hashem. Yahushai. Rachnao.
Rachnao.
Rashralia. Rabiath. Support. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahushai.
All knowledge. All wisdom. All understanding. All love. All patience. All mercy. All power from your house. All power from your house. All power from your house. B'Hashem. Yahushai. The water. Miat. Man. Circle up. You got it?
Saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, Ukoy Yasharallah, Min Israel, Umadrim. Bruh.
Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Barakatah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Kubi Yasharallah.
Top. And if his sisters, saluting out the daughters of Zion, Min Israel, Umadrim. Bruh.
Yahweh Shema Alatam B'Hashem Yahushai. It's okay. Yeshmatah. Dismiss. Fall out. Shalom, everybody. The water for tuning in. See y'all on Monday. Alrighty.